Alrighty, I think we're live. Let me just double check YouTube. Make sure everything's sounding good. Mic's plugged in. Yeah, we're good. Perfect. Alrighty, guys. Hello, hello to anyone in the ethos watching. Thank you for tuning in. Paul Heyman, WWE. How's it going, bro? Thank you for stopping by the live. First person in here. That is awesome. Let me share my screen like so. Guys, today we're going to cover the Mega Evolution and Scarlet and Violet Era booster boxes. Going to show you all the numbers in the spreadsheet. Some pretty interesting data. I'd say we'll probably talk a little bit about Prismatic too, if I can share this properly. Prismatic, almost 170 in ETB now, guys. 170. The run continues. We'll probably touch on like Black Bolt and White Flare as well. Maybe a couple other sets. If anyone has questions too, I'll happily take questions, and then should be a short stream. Get out of here, but I did want to just share the numbers from this week. Let's see who else is in here. Addison or Oda-san, what's up, everyone? How's it going, man? Thank you for stopping by. And we do have Cardboard Wealth. Oh, sweet, another live. Yeah, I was just watching Alex and Eli as well. I was kind of waiting, honestly, until they were done. I figured that'd be ideal. So yeah, going live now. That was a really fire one too. Otis-san, Destin box is going crazy. I'll be honest, like based on what I'm seeing, it kind of seems like the Destin hype's slowing down a little bit. Obviously, it's still pretty hype set, but things are slowing down a bit. Let me actually go back to my screen and share this tab. So this is from the market spreadsheet. The past 2 weeks of updates here. You guys can see we have the booster boxes in the left-hand column. Column A, market price. That's from TCG Player. I should actually make these black now because that's not the most recent update. And yeah, I mean, in terms of supply, most boxes, less supply on the market this week. So Paldea down to 60 from 64. Booster box was up as well. We're up to around $427. I think the big move of the week is actually Obsidian Flames out of all sets. So almost $340 on TCG Player now. Pretty big move there. And just humble. What would you say Sword and Shield is undervalued right now, or SV is overvalued? I don't think that it needs to be an or statement, right? Like I think both could be true or both could not be true, right? So like they could both be fairly valued. Yeah, I think everything's fairly valued at this point, honestly, especially with a lot of the moves we've seen recently with like SV era specialty sets, even some of the older SV like Obsidian Flames on screen now up to 340. I think it was only a matter of time before people started buying these again. So yeah, I wouldn't say that either of those are necessarily true. What do you recommend buying at the moment? I'll talk about that here in a minute. I've been buying. I've been buying a lot, and it's pretty much all Pokemon. I haven't really been touching One Piece at all. Let's go back and just go over the numbers here quickly, though. This was kind of part of the reason why we're doing a live stream today. So if I open this up here, this will be a better view. You guys can see sales volume for Destin, I think, is a number to talk about. So last week, 7.43 boxes selling per day on eBay. That's buy it now, so no auctions. And that was down from, I believe, like 12.5 the week prior. This week, we're down to 6.29. So a little bit less in terms of sales volume on Destined. Supply, it's actually up a little bit. And booster box price, I mean, 70 cents difference approximately week over week. So really not too much to say there. It does seem like Destined, you have a few more people taking profits, maybe a few more people looking at the box and going, this might not be the best place to put my money right now. And especially considering how some of these mega era sets are now starting to move, and even the specialty sets. So before we get to specialty sets, we should probably touch on the mega sets. The most obvious one, Phantasmal Flames. You guys can see down here, the box is up to $311, almost $312 on TCG Player. I can actually bring this up real quickly for you guys. pretty big move over the past couple months. I mean, after reprint, this was down to 200, $210. We're now back over three. Shocking, in my opinion. I really didn't expect this from Phantasmal, but those two Charizard cards are really carrying the set at this point. Very impressive. Outside of that, too, kind of surprising how limited the booster box supply on the market is. So, you guys know I normally don't start tracking the booster boxes for about 90 days after release. The reason for that is because there's so much supply out there and having to do a ton of manual scraping. It's not the most enjoyable experience to look at sets right after release, even very popular sets after reprints. Prismatic at times there were, I think, like 1,500 ETBs below a 20% move. Like those updates were awful. Even Black Bolt White Flare sometimes were over 1,000. So that's kind of why I wait. But Phantasmal, there's actually less booster boxes below a 20% leg up than Mega Evolution by a decent amount, right? Like 570. And this is just the enhanced version too. I should say that. And the enhanced version, we're at 260. I think the regular version, we're actually at like 275, I'm pretty sure, on TCG Player. So the supply of these newer sets is shockingly low compared to even some of the specialty sets that have come out recently. Perfection, Journey supply is being bought up. I see. Yeah, I mean Journey. We went from 94 to 79. If you look at the trend line over the past 6 months, I think at one point there was probably like 300 boxes. We're now down to around 80, below 290. Yeah, it's moving, not super fast, like around 3 boxes per day. This has been fairly consistent, I'd say, for actually, you guys can't even see my screen, what I'm pointing to, but Journey, yeah, 80 boxes below 290, 291, selling at around 3 per day. That's been consistent over the past couple months, I'd say at this point. Maybe even like past 90 days, 120 days. Um, I think back in the summer, it was closer to like 5. Sometimes there was even 7 boxes selling per day, but Journey fell off fairly quickly. Whereas something like Destin, I mean, that's even increased in sales volume, basically month over month, right? From June, or when release was June, July, to maybe like November, December, and then even into January. I think you could probably make the argument if you looked at every single week, but now it's starting to fall off a little bit, which makes sense. I mean, the box is $557 for context too. When you look at Brilliant Stars, I'm trying to think of other boxes in this range, Chilling Rain, a lot of those are like 2 to 3 boxes per day. So the fact that Destin's selling 2, sometimes 3, even 4x that, and the box is the same price is really impressive. What do you think about flipping normal Ascended Heroes ETBs into Prismatic ETBs? Yeah, I mean, you could too. Like if you're buying the Prismatic ones at, or excuse me, if you're buying Ascended at, let's say, $60 from Target or something, I think there's going to be a decent amount of those hitting the market this year. Like, why wouldn't they give Ascended the Prismatic Evolutions treatment? It seems like that is a likely scenario. Um, for the cases, I definitely wouldn't be moving them. So I have 2 on pre-order. They're both actually in the mail right now, I think. So those are something that I'm planning to hold, and also a position that I'm planning to build this year. I got a lot of flack last year buying as much prismatic as I did, even like the Lucy TPs, right? I think, middle of this year, it really does seem now that timelines in investing have kind of sped up, whereas let's say 2023, 2024, you may have had 2 years to build a position before you even saw movement in the boxes. Whereas now, some of these specialty sets, they get hit hard. We get the Sam's Club drops, the Costco drops, but after that 6 months, 8 months, things start to move again, right? So out the gate, maybe you could do that. The thing too is you got to find a good deal on Prismatic right now. The ETB is, like I said and showed at the beginning of this live, like these are $170 a piece now almost on TCG Player. Now on eBay, you could probably find these for 140 still. I know in Canada, like you could still find these for about 130 converted. There's lots of stores that still have loose ones. So you can definitely get deals on Prismatic still, but it's drying up fast for sure. And context too, like Prismatic is the best-selling ETB that we've probably ever seen. Like, even still, we're talking about over 20 moving per day. Buy it now on eBay fairly consistently. There were weeks in the summer where there were over 100 moving per day, right? If you included all of the Costco bundles and Sam's Club bundles. So it's a product I'm very bullish on, and these will definitely be like $300 ETBs in the future. So hopefully that answers your question. It seems like a lot of people are asking about Prismatic today. Literally, the next comment. What are your thoughts on Prismatic? This is the figure collections, I guess. I was thinking of making a play, but have noticed the gem rates are quite high and the Umbreon price has been dipping. I'm generally not a fan of collection boxes. They just take up a ton of space. So you guys can see behind me, like, even after moving a ton of my stuff into storage, I'm keeping a decent portion of my ETBs here. They take up a ton of space. Like, I had to get new shelves, and it's not like there's a ton of product behind me, like $30,000 maybe at this point in my home, and it's all basically ETBs. Collection boxes take up even more space, in my opinion, for how many packs you get inside of them. So, if you want to build a very large position, it could be an issue. But if you're only buying a couple, it's still not something that I would go into. I would rather have the ETBs. I like the promo better. I think just in terms of a collectible item as well, the ETB probably has a little bit more value there. So not something I'd buy, but again, like they're probably going to do fairly well, right? It's just, at the very least, you're going to be able to sell them for pack value to rip and ship. So if there's any premium from the promos and stuff, great, but not something that I would be buying. And then the comment right after that, from Solano, prismatic buy. Yeah, I've been slowing down my prismatic buying over the past month. So I went pretty heavy into the SPCs. I bought a few more ETBs because Taps Games had them for like 115 USD shipped to my door. Um, if I see good deals, I'll buy more prismatic for sure. But I think now that ETBs are pushing 170, SPCs are pushing $300. I'm going to be buying a little bit less and looking towards black bolts. I actually just bought a sealed case. I know I have 10 loose ETBs. You guys can see those behind me. I picked up a sealed case as well for a pretty decent price, in my opinion. Maybe a little bit expensive, but I did want to have some exposure to sealed black bolt ETBs, and I might even get a white flare one in the future. I mean, that's something that I've been tracking religiously, right? Like every single week, every second week, I guess I should say. That's a bi-weekly update now, but looking at the sales data from basically every single day, right? Because it's an average of the past 14 days each update. Those are moving at an incredible rate. Like not as good as Prismatic, which is going to be very difficult to beat, but we're talking about 15 to 20 per day for Black Bolt. White Flare is probably somewhere between like 12 and 15 normally. So they're both moving, right? And it's only going to be a matter of time. Like that supply started out at, there were like 1,200, 1,300 ETBs below, let's say like 110 on eBay. And now it's probably half that supply, right? So I think these are eventually going to be jumping to 100, 110. And I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later, especially now with Prismatic making a move from like 150 to 170 essentially overnight. You're going to see some money start to flow into Black Bolt and White Flare. That's my guess. And that kind of answers the next question too. So yeah, thoughts on Black Bolt ETB cases. Zero available on TCG Player. Really, really interesting. I will say when I was looking in Canada, like I put up a like looking to buy in the national Facebook group. I was offering to pay, I think 95% of TCG Player for cases, and I got no bites on Black Bolt at all. So there definitely isn't that many out there, I don't think. And I will say too, the TCG Player price seems a bit low compared to the loose value. So people maybe are valuing them a little bit higher. I think in Canada too, I want to say there's maybe 5 cases on Shopify. And I mean, let me run the numbers here. Let's see. I don't know what that would be in USD. Like 1130 USD maybe like 1150 USD, I think, for a case in that range. So yeah, I just bought one, and I think those are going to be more expensive here in the next couple months. I really do. Glad I got my case of Phantasmal Flames. Yeah, I mean, I'm shocked. I'm continued to be shocked. Basically, every release, how things continue to just move up. I really thought this was going to be like Obsidian 2.0. And, maybe someone's going to say, Grayson, it kind of is Obsidian 2.0. Like Obsidian's crushing it. That box is $340 now. But super top heavy. But those two cards, those two Charizards are performing so well. Very impressive. I'm going to bring up the numbers again for anyone who's late. This is coming from my market spreadsheet. So you guys get all the numbers this week. I think I'm probably going to use this video too in the landing page for anyone who's interested. So this will be kind of like the new video linked in there for people who are curious how it looks like. And we do this for basically everything too. So it's not just SVR booster boxes, the Sword and Shield ones, ETBs, PCTBs, Sun and Moon era. I need to build out the Sun and Moon and XY a little bit more. Those I have to do slightly differently, just based on like sales on eBay, and I think market price on TCG Player I don't use. Like I use lowest listed instead, just because at a certain point, like TCG Player, the market price just isn't a useful resource in my opinion. But this is kind of how it looks for most of the tabs. Um, where was I at here? I got my booster for 215-ish with shipping and tax. Amazing. I'm assuming you're talking about either Destined or Phantasmal Flames, but either way, like that's a killer price for it. Slaps. Very good price. Would you break down 151 posters and Costco mini tin boxes for extra space? I mean, like if you need the space, sure, but if you have the space and you don't actively need that space for something else, then I would just keep them sealed, right? You may get a premium from someone for having them sealed. So unless you really need it, keep them sealed. What do you think about Dragon Ball investing? So Dragon Ball, I'm not a fan of, and the reason for it is, to me, a lot of the metrics that I saw with One Piece, right? Like demand for watching box breaks and stuff, and the subreddit growth, and just in terms of like the anime and the manga in general and pop culture, like everything was kind of peaking and growing. Whereas with Dragon Ball, like I just don't see a lot of that. And sure, like prices have gone crazy, and maybe they'll continue going crazy. Maybe the anime coming back, that'll be like a massive resurgence, and everybody in the world is going to start paying attention to Dragon Ball again. Like that could happen, but a lot of what I saw with One Piece, I'm not seeing with Dragon Ball. So if people are making money right now, that's great. I wouldn't feel super confident in it. And when you compare it to the One Piece market, that run lasted 90 days, maybe like November, December, maybe 4 months. Let's call it like 3.5 months. One Piece is a much larger market when we look at the TCG compared to Dragon Ball. So, like, how long do you think the Dragon Ball boom is going to last? Right? That's all I'll say there. So it's not something I would invest in. Could be wrong. Again, like it could absolutely explode. And if things change, like I'm happy to reevaluate my outlook on things and invest in certain products. But right now, I just don't feel confident in it. Last weekend, vending, I sold a couple PRBO2 and rolled into some Prismatic because I know very little about One Piece. Did I fumble? No, I don't think so. I mean, PRBO2 is a good set for sure, but just in general, you probably shouldn't be investing in things you don't understand, right? So, um, I'm sure if you bought them, you probably got in early, right, on the hype. And even if you didn't, I mean, investing in Prismatic's gonna have a very good year. Like when everyone was buying One Piece in January, that's when I kind of started moving back to Pokemon, and I started buying more Prismatic and Black Bolt and some other sets. So yeah, I don't hate the move. I will say though, PRBO2, great set in my opinion. Sanju manga, tons of really cool SPs in there. The Gold Dawns as well. You have the God Pack, the opening experience. Like you can get 5 hits out of 20 packs. Like it's kind of the Crown Zenith equivalent. That's kind of what I've coined, and maybe some people disagree, but it'll do well. But will it do as well as Prismatic? Tough to tell. Tough to tell for sure. Teeth Rocket Joey is in the house, man. Don't get that Battle Styles FOMO later. Drunk Uncle Titar is greater than Pouprion. Yeah, man. I mean, Battle Styles, it's clearly going to be like $1,000 box this year. So you should just buy all of it, guys. All the Battle Styles. Ignore Prismatic. Ignore Phantasmal Flames, Destined. Just all in. All in on the styles. It's coming. Sunny, you get any of the Costco drops today? No. So, like, I know we have Costco's in Canada. I don't have a Costco account anymore. I don't even pay attention to any drop, honestly, at this point. I might see the Pokemon Center one like 3 hours after it happens or something. I go to bed really late. So generally by the time I'm up, like the drops have already happened or they're almost done or there's a huge queue. So yeah, I almost never score on drops anymore. What did they drop by the way, Sonny? Was it Ascended? Prismatic? I don't know. ETBs, bundles? I have no clue what's even going through Costco right now. I'd be curious to see what it is. ASC, the next Prismatic. I'm guessing ASC is Ascended. Um, yeah, kind of. I mean, it obviously depends on what your definition of that is, but I think it's a very strong specialty set like Prismatic. Which one will do better? I don't know. Like a lot of people are enjoying the experience opening Prismatic. Like I've been paying attention to Wenzel. Like their viewership is insane too, guys. Like they're up to like 2K, 2.5K sometimes now, like concurrent viewers on their live stream. I think their vault, the first time they did it, it obviously got cracked, but they were up to almost 1,800 packs in the vault, I think. So that was like, that's only 20% of how many packs were purchased. So what would that be? Like times five, 9,000 packs they went through for that. And they've done another Ascended Vault, I think, since then. A couple other ones too. So a lot of people are opening Prismatic or Ascended rather. A lot of people are still opening Prismatic too, but I think they'll both do well, right? I'm not going to say that Ascended's the next Prismatic, assuming you're talking about Ascended, right? ASC. I imagine that's the symbol, but yeah, both really good sets. I want to stack Ascended ETBs to the roof as well. And if they come out with like an SPC, a UPC, something along those lines, it has a good promo, I'll probably end up buying those too. So yeah, definitely on my radar. DJ's in the building too. What's up, DJ? How's it going, man? We're gonna have to do another live here soon. That was fun. Let's see who else is here. Palette Town Sean. We have unlimited black, white, heavy hitters in Canada. Is that like in store? Do you have distro, Sean? I have a Walmart in my city and there's never Pokemon there. So I'm curious like what stores you're talking about that have that. You're probably in a bigger center than I am too. I'm in the boonies, so um yeah, tons of black and white ancillary products too that were out there. Like the the ETBs too, I'll say this, like there's still a decent amount out there. It's just the fact that they're selling at like 15 to 20 per day on eBay. It's only going to be a couple months, right, before that starts to dry up. So everyone's even now, like I think there's more eyes on it. The ETBs are up to $92 on TCG Player. For the longest time, these were like 83, $84. White Flare was sub 80. That's now like 84, 85. So they're moving slowly, but I think within the next couple months, people are gonna see that supply start to dry up and go, okay, like I should probably get some exposure to these. ASC clears. Yeah, I mean Ascended's a pretty cool set, man. I like a lot of the artworks. Gengar's great. You guys know I'm not as big of a fan of the gold cards, but still, it's a gold Charizard card. Like, that's kind of a no-brainer. Even the Dragonite, I think Dragonite, the Mega form looks ridiculous, but that's a beautiful artwork, in my opinion. I've always had that perspective. The Pikachus I love too. I like the non-crown version of the Pikachu more, but they're both still really strong. I mean, there's other characters in there too, so super bullish on Ascended, super bullish. FOMO's in here as well. What's up, FOMO? Thank you for stopping by the live stream. Opinion on booster bundles. I like bundles. I've had people show me like Kaggle data for ETBs versus bundles, and ETB is almost always clear. So, you know, at release of a set, if the price per pack's fairly similar or even a little bit more expensive for ETBs, I'm probably just going to go with ETBs. And I imagine it's probably the same thing with bundles to booster boxes for mainline sets. Booster boxes probably do better, but at the same time, like when you look at something like Destined at 550, 600 a box, whatever it was when the bundles were restocked, to me, getting a bundle at $40 US, 41 US, it felt a lot better, right? Like less than $7 a pack for Destined in a sealed product, right? So for me, that's generally when I'll buy bundles. So if we get more Destin bundles in the future and we don't get more booster boxes, I'll probably just keep buying the bundles because it feels better to me, right? Maybe part of that's vibes, but yeah, like out the gate, if price per pack's about the same for bundles versus booster boxes or bundles versus ETBs, at that point I would be going for the booster boxes or the ETBs. Black Bolt ain't easy to find these days. Yeah, it's starting to dry up for sure. Starting to dry up, and definitely in the wild. Like I can only speak for myself. Like I almost never see Pokemon. I think the only stuff at my Walmart right now is like sleeved boosters. They still have some Destin sleeve boosters, a Journey in there too. But yeah, no, we never get like booster bundles or ETBs or anything like that. Maybe there's like a Phantasmal ETB or something that nobody wants. But yeah, it's starting to dry up for sure. People are slowly coming around to that realization. Is it worth it to break down Sword and Shield era collection boxes for the packs or sell them as a whole? For example, the EV Premium Collection from GameStop. Yeah, something like that that has a really cool promo. I think I would just keep sealed. The thing too with Sword and Shield packs is they can be weighed. So I think you're probably gonna get more in a sealed product. But again, like, I just hate collection boxes. I really do. There are some that perform well because they have crazy promos. The GameStop ones, I don't think that's not the one that has like the really solid Vaporeon, Flareon promos, right? That's the other one I'm thinking about. So yeah, it really comes down to the promo. I'm not a huge fan of collection boxes, but I think keep them sealed. If you need space, that's a time where you could break them down, I guess, but maybe it's probably just better to sell them at that point. It's a tough call. Every day I open my sealed collection app. It's in the green. It's cool, but when do you suppose it would drop? Trying to increase my positions. I mean, I can't really answer that because I don't know what you invest in, but um, honestly, I also don't really want to answer this just because it's like, who cares if it drops, man? Honestly, like I think I've probably lost like 30K in value from One Piece over the past like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, right? At the same time, the Pokemon values started to go back up. So I don't really worry if things go up or down, right? I'm more concerned about, what the macro is looking like. And people are still ripping a ton of product. People are still very interested in TCGs, collectibles. And as long as I'm investing in good sets, I don't really concern myself with that. So could things keep going forever? Forever's a long time, right? So I doubt that. There's always going to be a point where there's going to be a cutoff, but I'm still very bullish on Pokemon and One Piece and just TCGs in general for the foreseeable future. I'll leave it at that. I see a lot of people moving diff. I see a lot of people moving diff with Ascended Heroes PCTPs now. What do you mean by moving differently? Like, do you mean people are scalping them out the gate at 250 as opposed to or 200, whatever it is, 250 Canadian? I've seen a ton selling for. Is that what you mean? Like people are moving them out the gate from MSRP, or you're saying that people are wanting to hold them and they're picking up more of them? Interesting conversation to be had there potentially. Unified Mimes in the building. What's up, man? What do you see in the future for prismatic PCTP cases? Do you think they will ever command a major premium over the loose boxes? I mean, again, like this depends on how you define major. I think there will probably be a premium, but it's going to be difficult to find a buyer to pick up that sealed case. Like it's a really cool item, but the buyer pool of people wanting to buy a sealed case of PCTB is probably not that big. So I think there probably will be a premium. In theory, there should be a premium, in my opinion, just because it was something that what the pre-orders lasted a couple hours before they dropped it to two. So there can't be that many out there. And you think about how many cases actually probably got cracked too. So yeah, I think prismatic PCTBs, in terms of a set, like Prismatic's top tier. In terms of ETB promos, I think the EV's top tier as well. I really do rate that one highly. In terms of like a product, I'm probably not the most bullish person on PCTBs and just products in general, where a lot of the value is tied to the success and demand for a promo card as opposed to the set. Those are things that I really don't like investing in, especially once they hit like a certain multiple of MSRP. So, will they do well in the future? I would, if I had to bet on it, right, gun to my head, I'm sure they'll do very well, right? But is it something that I would be buying right now? Probably not. Um, Solano asks, where are you sourcing product besides eBay and TCG Player? I try and find these Shopify stores, but I've had no luck. Yeah, so I do buy a decent amount on Shopify. I try and buy in Facebook groups first. Um, I have some connections in Canada where, like, when Costco drops happen, I can pick up certain amount of product generally if I want it. I don't always want the exact products they have to offer, but Facebook groups definitely a good way to go. People generally do deals at like 85, 90%. Sometimes you can get even better prices. It's better than paying 100% and then tax on top. I think at a certain level though in Canada, if you're selling more than like 30K a year, you have to register for GST so you can write off tax anyways. But yeah, Shopify, like I'll just put if I'm looking for a certain product, like I just put it in the search bar, and then sort by my country. So it's not like international or whatever. And then just go through it and see what shows up. Like there are a lot of new stores that'll pop up all the time and they're trying to get some feedback. So they might be undercutting or whatever. And there's obviously a lot of stores that I keep going back to, like HPW. They do great work as well, especially for One Piece, Pokemon 2. They always double box. So you just got to find your sources. Ideally, though, Facebook is where you're probably going to get the best deal. Maybe even Discord group stuff like that. So that's where I would start for sure. Notice how all the reprints are combo white flare black bolts, like the heavy heaters or binders. Never any ETBs. Yeah, I haven't really been paying attention to that, but that's interesting now that you bring that up. So, you know, it was very I think in general, a lot of people are kind of perplexed with Pokemon doing that to begin with, giving us the 2 sets, but, um, yeah, I mean, if they keep giving us combined products, we don't get more ETBs, they'll dry up even quicker, and that's kinda why, even though I have some loose Black Bolt ETBs, I did wanna get a case. I'll say too, the cases are kind of like you have to know what you're looking for, right? Because when you look at the label, I think it's like a Z for one of them, and then what's the other one? Like a K maybe or a C or something. Like the the labels are basically the same. There's only like one letter separating the difference. And it doesn't say Black Bolt or White Flare, obviously. So you really got to make sure that you are buying the right thing if you're going to get a sealed case. Janix in here too says Dragon Ball Z is greater than One Piece all day. That's definitely a hot take for sure. Super hot take, dude. I don't think I could get on board with that. Maybe if you're arguing like, anime and stuff and you want to go deep for some reasoning, but in terms of the TCG, they're not even comparable, man. Not even comparable. Hector's in here. ¿Cómo está la cosa, muchacha? Todo está bien. No pasa nada. No pasa nada. ¿Y usted? ¿Todo bien? Espero. Hector, where are you from, by the way? I feel like we've talked about this before, but um, if you've told me, I've forgotten, obviously. I feel bad about that. Sorry, man. Always wondered. Is TCG collecting and selling your full-time job or part-time? Yeah, so it was part-time for a long period of time, right? I was doing other stuff, but now I'm going full-time. Content creation alone definitely is not enough money to go full-time, but with like the consults this year, the mentorship program, building that out, it's a full-time thing now for sure. And I'm super grateful for that. And that's why I'm just working like every day, man. All day, every day. It's not at a point where I could put it on autopilot and go away, but I'm very happy that I get to do this as a job. Like even doing it part-time, it was something where I always knew I wanted to get it to a full-time level. And Brian told me to do a rip and ship. I'm still contemplating doing that. Like I don't think he's wrong. Like there's probably a ton of money in it. Even like opening a store, right? Like a Shopify store, Wix, whatever, selling product is something I've contemplated doing. I used to do FBA full time and I sold a ton on eBay as well. I just hate getting up and having to pack like 30 orders. It's not fun at all. So that's kind of why I've stayed away from doing the rip and ship or the store, but I understand like that's something I could do to even grow my business more if I wanted to. But I'm lucky enough I'm not at a point where I have to do that currently. But yes, now it is full time. This is 309 too. I'm just curious. I'm gonna scroll down to see if you said anything. Born in VA, mom from El Salvador, and dad from Honduras. Ah, okay. VA, is that Virginia? I'm guessing, right? Okay, El Salvador. Dude, I would love to go to El Salvador now, especially, considering it's a lot safer. Honduras too would be somewhere I want to visit. I was in Costa Rica, so I was fairly close to that area of the world at one point, but yeah, definitely a place I want to visit. I would like to hit all of Central and South America at a certain point in my life. Especially too now, like, my Spanish is not perfect, obviously, but it's at a level where if I went alone, I'd feel confident. Honestly, I could bring my wife too. Like that would just make it so easy too. So yeah, very cool. Very cool part of the world. Definitely recommend anyone if you want to travel, go there. It's cheap too, honestly. Like, you could spend a month in Colombia and it's very difficult to spend like $2,000. Unless you're in like Medellin and you're in Poblado or something, right? But if you go to the countryside, if you go to like Cafetera, like other parts of Colombia that are not as touristic, I guess, like very very cheap. Frederick says One Piece DCG just came out a couple of years ago. Dragon Ball TCG has been around for years. That's true. That is a factual statement. I'm not sure that that makes Dragon Ball better than One Piece or One Piece better than Dragon Ball, right? But yeah, in terms of timeline, 100%. 100%. One Piece and Dragon Ball Z actually have fairly similar prices when it comes to most expensive singles. I open both, and Dragon Ball cards look way cooler. Actually buying out DBZ promos right now. Yeah, that's interesting. That's something that I did think about. Um, I need to take a closer look at that too, because that is something that when I looked at One Piece, it did interest me. The fact that some of those cards were like $4,000, right? So, if there are cards in Dragon Ball that are 2 to 4K, and it's like the top hit in a set, like that is something that for sure is promising. Gregory's in here too. What's up, man? Thank you for stopping by the stream. We do have a question from Oof. What do you consider a more risky investment? I was gonna say Dragon Ball again. Destin Rivals boosters. I'm guessing booster boxes or Ascended Heroes ETBs. Mm. Okay, so again, like context and nuance matters. In terms of risky, like what's the timeline here? 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? What is our entry price? Market? So like 550 on Destined versus what are Ascended Heroes ETBs? $100. Let me check quickly. Ascended Heroes Elite Trainer Box. So 550 Destined versus 120. Wow, they're holding at 120. Interesting. Um, that's a really good question, actually. Really good question. I think if you have like a 10-year outlook, I would say that Ascended's riskier, in my opinion, because Destined, it's a lot older. I think they're in different blocks. Someone let me know in the comments down below if I'm wrong about that. But yeah, I think if you push the timeline out super far, and you look at, I mean, Alex made a video today talking about this, right? He gave a bull case for Destin Rivals. The top booster box in every era, it's getting to like 2, 3K, right? Or more. So I think people know that Destin eventually is going to be $1,000, 1,500, maybe 2K a box. So I don't think it's that risky, especially if you have an extended timeline. So I would go with Ascended, and I think long term too, right? Like Ascended's not really that risky either. I mean, maybe at 120 in ETB, but it's the same thing. It's the same talk with Prismatic, right? Like last year, everybody was saying like, this is going to get hit to like $40 in ETB. You had cosplaying sociopaths on the internet saying it was going to MSRP, right? It bottomed out at like $80 in ETB. So is Prismatic going to get to $40 in ETB? Like, who knows? The market's definitely a bit different now than it was back then, but I mean, that's a very stacked set too. So I'm approaching Ascended a bit differently too, and this isn't really answering your question. I just want to, kind of elaborate on my thought process. This time around, I'm going for sealed ETB cases of Ascended. I'm going to try really hard to make sure most of my position is in those sealed cases. And then in the future, say I have 100 ETBs of Ascended, they're all in sealed cases. I only have to sell 10 cases as opposed to if they were all loose, selling 100 ETBs. That sounds like a lot more work. And then again, like dealing with potential rips on the ETB wraps, which you guys know if you've owned ETBs, a lot of them do ultimately end up getting damaged. So that's kind of my thought process now. But yeah, I don't think in an extended timeline 2035 that either of these are really risky, but I think that Destin's probably safer if we're looking at it. But again, like very close. That's my guess. What's up, Grayson? The Flex, thank you for stopping by, man. The Flex 4387. Heavy hitters online right now. Costco still interesting. Okay. Um, how many packs are in those? And like what's the price? You can tell me in Canadian too. I'm just curious, but interesting. That's the drop today, I imagine. Heavy hitters. Okay. Yeah, I wish I knew people that had Costco that had Costco memberships. And I guess I could buy one, right? And just deal with it. But um dude, I just hate trying to get drops nowadays. Like I'm so busy that I can't keep up with it, man. Last year it was worth doing in my opinion, but this year for me, it's something I'm not even looking at doing. But that's interesting. Really, really interesting. And maybe that slows down the ETBs a little bit over the next couple months. Like that is something we should probably consider. Um, the gold cards are sick. What do you mean? No, I'm not a huge fan of the gold cards, man. I really don't like a lot of them. I think they're getting better for sure, but I've I've never looked at the gold cards in Pokemon and thought like, wow, these are amazing. Unfortunately. And like after opening One Piece stuff, I look at Pokemon cards in general. Like I opened some Prismatic with my wife, and we opened a couple Mega Charizard UPCs. We pulled the Espeon SAR out of Prismatic. And that was one of the cards that I love the illustration of, honestly. Holding the card in person, like it's not really it's whelming, right? It's not overwhelming. Like it's kind of bleh in my opinion, honestly. The the card quality and texture in One Piece and some other games now, like Pokemon's definitely losing that battle, in my opinion. So if they want to really improve their cards, they have a lot of runway. Like they have room for improvement for sure. So yeah, I'm not super bullish on the cards. And maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. But that is my honest opinion, which you will get here. Would love to hear your thoughts on how you're gonna approach perfect order. I'm not gonna buy perfect order. Yeah, our MSRP box is a fine play. I don't even know what. Let me check TCG player. I'm curious. Um, perfect order booster box. 201 currently on TCG Player. I imagine you're probably gonna be able to find these for MSRP, yeah, or 180 a box, whatever it's gonna be. I look at the sets. I'm not super excited. Following my own advice, I'll probably end up buying like one box eventually or something. Because who knows, right? Like I looked at Twilight back in the day and I said this set sucks. I freaking hate this set. I didn't go heavy into it. It's now probably third or fourth best booster box from the SV era. So I mean, perfect order. It could surprise, I guess, but I do think when you compare that to a lot of the other sets coming out right now, you look at Phantasmal, you look at Ascended, even base, like Mega Evolution, if we want to call it a base set. These are some strong sets, honestly. And Ascended's up there, man. I did a video looking at the top 10 value. I think Prismatic out the gate probably had like double the top 10 value. So I don't know. I mean, it will be interesting to see what happens with Ascended, but I think it's very difficult to rationalize putting a lot of money into perfect order when a set like Ascended is out right now, right? Or when, Destin Rivals booster bundles are being restocked, or let's say like Prismatic, right? Like if we get more SPCs, even if you're buying from scalpers and they're like 150 a piece, 200 a piece, like is that going to be a better place to put your money than buying perfect order? My guess would be probably. So for me, like I'm not super excited about the set, but I've said that before and got burned. So I mean, if you want to get a little bit of exposure and then see what happens over the next couple of years, definitely a play to go. And if it's at MSRP, like sure, kind of seems like there's very little downside at that point. Bougie saying, I see more picking up PCTBs out the gate and people not in a rush to quick flip now. That's interesting. Like I've seen a lot of people selling, but maybe that's kind of just my bias looking at the Facebook groups. But to me, it makes sense. I mean, the promo card is a solid one for sure. So I would be much happier holding an Ascended Heroes ETB just because of the promo than I would like Black Bolt or White Flare PCTBs. Because those, it's like what, Thunderous and Landorus, fairly mid Pokemon, right? And artwork. So yeah, I get that. It makes sense. And people seeing the total value. Yeah, exactly. Even if it drops in half, like you said, it's still really strong. I think probably if it got slashed in half, it would still be higher than Destined. I think by probably like 50% or something crazy. So very, very bullish on Ascended Heroes. Zuko test 2. Thank you, man. Thank you for that. I didn't know if chat was working, so now I know. That's such a blessing. Question from Toronto Six God. What's up, man? Hey Grayson, good evening. Good evening to you as well. I have a few of the new collector chests of Mega Evolution. Based on your experience, do you think these products appreciate over time? Um, well, yes, like pretty much every sealed product appreciates over time. I don't think there's one product that you could point to that doesn't in Pokemon. Like even Rudy made the video about the classic collection or whatever it was. Now up to I think it's over $300 on TCG Player. I think that collector's chests in general are something I will never buy again. I bought some of I think it was 2022 or 2023, the collector chests. Hobbiesville used to have tons of them. They were like all in. I think I paid like $19 Canadian or something. It was stupid cheap for some of those products. It was impossible to move them. Literally impossible. Like I had to break down most of them and just sell the loose packs. So it's not something that I want. They take up a ton of space. Um, I haven't looked at the exact ones you're talking about, so maybe they're stackable, but I know the ones I purchased, they weren't uniform, so you couldn't stack them. It was an absolute nightmare. Never again will I own anything like that. If you have a way to, sell the packs and you're making money, or you can even sell the sealed item, great. But for me, as a long-term investment vehicle, it's not something I would put my money in. For the anime DBZ all day. Yeah, I mean, I used to watch Dragon Ball as a kid, so Dragon Ball's cool. Um, I would still keep with One Piece, honestly. Like the One Piece story is something, and One Piece could have been like 500 episodes or less, honestly. Like the remake is going to be much shorter. There's so much filler and I hate that, but when you look at the story up to kind of where we're at now, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable, absolute peak in my opinion. So I'll always be holding on to that, but yeah, Dragon Ball for sure is a very cool IP. I think you do good at rip and shipping. Yeah, I don't look, I've said before, like the and I'm at a point where I'm so fucking done with like half of the internet, man. Like, um, being being someone like a public figure on the internet is not fun. It really isn't. Some people will tell you it is. I don't enjoy it a lot of the time. Like I enjoy the people I work with, one on one, the people I work with in my group. Like that's amazing. Um, and honestly, like a lot of people who comment and I've chatted with, like I really do respect and I've had great conversations with a ton of people. It's just that like being a public figure, it's always that small percentage of people that just ruin it for everyone else. So like I've been dealing with some shit recently. Someone who watched the One Piece channel. I don't want to get into it, but it's something where like the more I put my face out there, the less I enjoy it and the less I just want to deal with it. So, doing a rip and ship, having to do it every night, I think I would just get burnt out, man, of dealing with a lot of people. And it'd be so much fun to interact with probably 95% of people, but it's just that other 5% that like it honestly just spoils it for me. And the other thing too, Solano, I can't I can't fake excitement. So like if someone pulled a card, even if it was a really cool one, if it's something I didn't like, I probably wouldn't be too hyped. And if you watch Wenzel TCG, those guys are the goats. Like that that channel, I actually enjoy watching them. But I mean, they're super over the top. Like every time someone puts an order in, they get super hyped. And then, if someone donos, like they act so hyped as like I couldn't fake that. And me personally, I know Brian disagreed. We talked about this on the live stream. To me, I do think that matters a little bit, honestly. So I would enjoy doing it, like opening the packs and stuff and interacting with 95% of people, but I think I would just burn myself out and that would probably affect the quality and the experience for a lot of people. But maybe we'll see in the future. If the content eventually fails, everyone stops watching, maybe I'll get desperate. Hey, we'll see. Virginia. Yes, okay. 20 outside, 20 minutes outside Washington, D.C. Very cool. Very, very cool, man. Okay. Another question. I am currently looking into One Piece treasure rares. I found the Nami from OPO6 and PSA 10. Will this card just go up over time or hard to figure out the price? The the Nami treasure is cool. That was a card that was so cheap like 8 months ago. And the fact, I mean, I think it got up to $600-700, maybe even more in a PSA 10. I don't know, and that's USD, by the way. I don't know what you're paying for it. A lot of cards are being hit hard. It still seems like we're in a buyer's market in One Piece. People are still kind of racing to the bottom, especially on a lot of the lower tier cards. And by the way, like I've been calling this for months in the One Piece space, and nobody wanted to accept it, right? When you're in a bull run and everything is going good, going up, the the cards that generally perform the best aren't going to be those top hits. And the reason for that is, they're cheaper for one. So I think it's easier when you look at an ROI perspective, but they're the things that people didn't really pay attention to. And when everyone's buying every single thing, the treasure rares, they popped off, they went crazy. The Nami, I think, was up, I want to say like 700%, right? Like it was massive growth on that card. These are the cards that when you're in a correction, based on what I've seen in Pokemon in the past, right? So things could be different, but based on what I've seen previously, those types of cards that aren't like the S tier chases get hit the hardest. So I would not be very excited about buying treasure rares and SPs right now. I mean, maybe a month from now, 2 months from now, a lot of stuff starts to bottom out. We see some support at certain levels. At that point, it might be reasonable to start buying those again. But it's something for me that I'm never gonna buy, right? Like I'm always gonna be the sealed guy for the most part. I might dabble with singles and slabs at some point, but Yeah, not for me. And I think just right now, it's probably not the best time to be buying that card. But again, could be wrong. That is one man's perspective. It's funny too. I got called out on the One Piece TCG subreddit, the finance one yesterday, which I thought was funny. But I I agree with what that person said. Like, never just listen to one person. Like, don't take my opinion for something. Go ask like 10 people and then come to your own conclusion. I think just in general, like whether it's One Piece, Pokemon, anything, right? Like you just shouldn't take obviously in medicine, right? Like get a second opinion if it's something big. So always getting, different perspectives is something important in my opinion. Hector says El Salvador, definitely a must travel. People are friendly, great food, and nice beaches. Yeah, man. And like I wouldn't have gone there before. I can't remember his name. Bukele. Is that his name? Bukele? The new president. Like before he came in, I would never have gone there, right? Like that was way too hot of a country to be in. I think now it's probably a lot safer, right? So maybe I should be going sooner rather than later, just in case things change. But um, at least from an outside perspective, the country looks a lot better off at this point, which is interesting. It's really interesting how you know the mainstream media coverage of him is just horrific, right? And everybody's been kind of anti what he's done, but at least who I've talked to, who know people who live in the country or have lived there before, a lot of people were in favor of what he's done. So, yeah, I don't know how you feel about it, Hector, but it's an interesting conversation to be had for sure. And again, that's like a prime example of perspective, right? Like go talk to other people. If you only talk to one person and they give you a certain light of the situation, and if you believe them at face value, you don't take in any other information, it could really affect the choices you end up making, and maybe you make the incorrect one, right? So, just food for thought, I guess. Zuko says, "Do you think that One Piece will continue to do the PSA promos, or do you think they stop now that they are getting big?" I have no clue. Yeah, it's not even something I've thought about, honestly. Um, Let me think about this. I think they're gonna keep doing promos in general. I don't know if they'll be with PSA. Um, my understanding, people really like the PSA promos they've done so far. I like the artworks and stuff. So if they did more, I don't think it would be a bad thing. But do I think they're gonna continue doing them? I have no clue. Genuinely don't have a clue. But honestly, a lot of the promos Bandai puts out are absolutely fire. Like they really crush basically everything they do. That's a good question though. I'll keep an eye on that to see if they do more. Same block. Okay, so this was referring to Destin Ascended. Interesting. Yeah, I still think like with the extended timeline, the booster boxes of Destined probably a safer bet. But if you're looking at over the next 12 months or something, right? Obviously that could heavily influence what happens. So long term, I think they're both great options. And I think that's ultimately what matters the most. Just joined. Love the channel. Dislodge. Thank you for stopping by, man. I see you in the comments all the time. Appreciate you catching the live as well. Yeah, Canada Costco 79.99 still in stock. Wow, that's Canadian. How many packs, Sonny? Online in stock, 12 packs. Okay, so that's um 650 a pack, right? If my math is good. 660 in that range. Interesting. That's pretty cheap. Pretty cheap. It's not like the best deal I've ever seen, but that's I mean it's a pretty good deal, right? So very, very cool. I skipped over this one too. Let's take this first. Sorry, Jolly. Ever since I started opening One Piece, I have zero desire to dude, I feel the same way, Johto. Like literally the same way. One Piece, in my opinion, and especially when things were cheap, right? Like when you could buy a box for $100 still, and I pulled the Law manga, got it graded in a PSA 10. That's a $1,200 card USD right now, $1,100, something like that, out of $100 box, and it's just peak experience in my opinion. I know some people don't like that there's a guaranteed amount of hits in a box, but I kind of enjoy that. I opened I just opened a decent amount of Pokemon stuff, and again, it's something where after doing it, it reminded me like why did I do this? It was fun to do with the wife, but the hit rates, especially on some of these UPCs, like we pulled nothing crazy, like an IR maybe that's like $5, Dugong I think, and the other one was it like Sparrow or something, Pharaoh. So it's it's a way better experience in my and card quality is way higher. I like the fact that they kind of have the rip tab too on all the packs. Like Pokemon, I feel like sometimes it just ain't, part of it's technique for sure, but I hate having to like rip open packs of Pokemon. Like it's such a process. Whereas with One Piece, even Union Arena, I mean Union Arena shit. Like I hate that product. Bandai really, I mean, they're just rushing everything to market, but the fact that the packs open very easily, right? Like that rip tab you can actually pull basically all the way down. There's there's so many things that I think Pokemon could take from other games too. And they probably won't. And part of it too is obviously logistics. I'm sure like, improving their card quality when they're printing so many billions of cards. It's probably not realistic to ask of them, but that's where other games like they can create better cards and kind of find their niche and target a certain audience. Jollibee, what's up, man? Thank you for stopping by the live. Thank you for being here, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the work that you do in the Discord as well. Absolute goat because dude, I'm not reading all the chat. I mean, I try, dude, but sometimes like there's like 50, 100 messages when I wake up. It's a lot. It's a lot for sure. Kalanzo. I hope I'm saying your name too, right? Kalanjo. Thankfully, I've no desire to rep Pokemon as well. Unfortunately, One Piece is extremely hard to find at retail, so I'm stuck with the decision to trade some Pokemon for One Piece. Yeah, it's tough. Like I know my Walmart, there's a couple starter decks, 29 in there. Surprisingly, like I was shocked, but we used to get like sleeve blisters, so I found some OP13 ones there, OP14 as well. I think there was even a double pack, but yeah, like no EBO3. It's so difficult to find, and I'm in the boonies, man, like town of 10,000, right? So not a lot of people here, and I can't even imagine what it'd be like in a big city. So it's unfortunate, but hopefully, hopefully product will be a little bit more readily available this year. Fingers crossed. We'll see. Joto says rip and shipping is just not the most fulfilling job either. You're just squeezing margins from people that admire you. Yeah, that's part of it too. Like I thought about this for a while, and I'm not sure if anyone knows like Mark Cuban, his pharmaceutical company, what is it like cost plus 15 or something? I thought about doing something kind of similar, right? And keeping the margins as small as possible. It's not something that I think is sustainable either. Like the amount of work you got to put in, like obviously you have to make a certain margin, but yeah, it's definitely heavily involved. No, let me phrase this better. It's definitely reliant on in part reliant on like the parasocial element. The same people coming back every night chatting with you, supporting you. It's kind of like and maybe this is why it's kind of sustainable, right? Like my parents' generation, their parents, a lot of those people would go to like the bar, right? And they'd go to their bar and watch the game and buy a few beers. Same with like restaurants, right? Like you go to the same restaurants for the most part. Maybe this is kind of like our generation's version of that. I'm not sure, but at the same time, you are kind of reliant on people liking you and supporting your channel. It's the same thing why like a lot of YouTubers will just say what they think the audience wants them to say to get views because their whole business is reliant on ad revenue and sponsors, right? So, I look at a lot of these and look, I've taken sponsors on the channel before, and some of them were definitely less popular than others among certain people. Um, even something like Poke Notify, though, I don't regret doing because they helped me a ton, out the gate in like December 2024. December 2024, January 2025. I was one of the first people that they were working with, right? And that was like first channel sponsor. I mean, they paid me well too, so like no gripes working with them, but it just got to a certain point where I don't think that service was super useful, and that's why I just stopped working with it. And there were other small things too, but a lot of these channels, right? They're taking ridiculous sponsors that they honestly don't even believe in. I'll say too, like Shiny, I still use the Shiny app. I'm not I don't want to go into it. Like I'm not a huge fan of how that kind of fell apart and how I stopped working with them on the channel. I'll say that, but um, like that was another product I really believed in. So it's super easy for me to put my name behind something if I use their product or I believe in it. And that's like moving forward. If I do ever take sponsors on the channel, it's always going to be something that I genuinely believe in and think is fine promoting. But at the same time, like I've just started promoting my own stuff, and it does fairly well, right? Like I'm super grateful for all the people I work with, but I also think that I do a really good job with the product I put out. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing now, and that's why like if someone's annoying me in the comments, like bro, I'll just block you. Like I don't want to deal with it anymore, and I'm not at the behest of ad revenue at this point. Obviously, it's still important. Like it's a big amount of money that comes in every month, but for some people where like 100% of their business is ad revenue and sponsors, like that's not a place I want to be ever. I don't know why, but like, man, air is dry here too, guys. Tough time talking today. Hector again. Would you break down a Blooming Waters box for the packs? Also, what's your level anticipation for the Pokey 30th sealed product? It's the same conversation with like all collection boxes. I wouldn't break them down unless you have to. Like if you need the space, break them down. That's fine, but keep them sealed as long as you can, in my opinion. What's your level anticipation for the Pokey 30th sealed? Do you mean like in terms of like how I'm viewing the hype? Like in terms of like how many people I think are anticipating the 30th and the product coming? Or are you talking about like also what's your level like are you talking about print level, like how much they're gonna print? I'm not exactly sure. Like if you want to clarify, I'll answer it, but um I don't want to assume. But yeah, like keep the blooming water sealed until you have to, like if it's a space thing. And again, at that point, like maybe it's worth selling. I don't know. Um Zaros is in here. What are your thoughts on EBO3's current price? It's for me, it's still too high. Like I don't feel great about it. Anthony from Cardboard Hero reached out to me today. He has some boxes listed for 450 Canadian, so it's about 329 USD. I shared that in the Discord and on the One Piece channel. So I know some people at like 330, they're happy to get in. For me, it's still a bit too high. Um, and honestly, like just in general, I'm not buying a ton of One Piece right now, even though I think like OP13, maybe even EBO3, I don't think these sets are going to go much lower, if that makes sense. Especially OP13, like it dropped from 7 to 5 very quickly, and now we're seeing sales at maybe like 470, 460, 450. But do I think that's ever going to be like a $300 box again? No. Do I think EBO3 is going to be like 150, 175, 200? Probably not. So we'll see. I think it's kind of in like a range where it makes sense, but it's still too high for me to want to like load up on it. Recently pulled a serialized Nami. Awesome, man. That's huge from the OP13 Japanese tin. Trying to offload it is a pain. I imagine. Any ideas of what to do with it? Yeah, I mean it's a buyer's market right now. So, um wow. That's is that the one out of 1500? 1000? I can't remember exactly what the serial is on that. Like that would be a card where it might be worth just holding on to it. It's not a good time to be selling basically anything in One Piece right now. Like if you were selling 2 weeks ago, you were ahead of the curve, like great, but at this point, so much stuff, it's still a race to the bottom. It's going to be difficult for you to get like close to top dollar on it. Um if you have a plan for the money, I get it. At that point, like maybe just throw it up on eBay or send it to consignment if you're in the US. But it's also something where like maybe you just want to get it graded and hold on to it, especially if you could get like a BGS 10. If it looks really minty, maybe send it to BGS. If it looks a little off center or something, maybe send it to PSA. I don't think you give yourself enough credit. Some people love the over the top reactions, but I prefer genuine reactions. And you are never not genuine, which is why people like your show. Yeah, maybe I don't. Like I've had people tell me that before, but at the same time, like the people who do it and they're really good. Like I think Wenzel, they are the best in the game right now. I don't care what anyone says. Maybe there's channels on Fanatics and whatnot that get more viewers. They're they've always been really good, and I enjoy watching them. And I'm giving them not enough credit either and saying that they are like too over the top at times, but I think just like their general banter, like I'm pretty sure they're brothers too. Everything they do is like top tier experience. Um and even like Alex is really good. Like I've watched his stream before. I do think like Wenzel the audio is better. I actually like the vertical format as well. I think it's kind of genius what they've been doing. I think it actually helps them in the algorithm, but yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see, man. Like if it gets to that point where I want to do it, I know that I'm going to stay in Canada for a long time. Great. Like I could try it out. I mean, who knows? Like maybe I just run a Sunday live like TJ Pokepaster one day and sell some packs or something for fun and see how it goes, right? I could do that, but the other thing too is being in Canada, at least right now, I don't think I would want to ship to the States. So again, like that kind of limits the buyer pool. And maybe I'm just making excuses at this point. So whatever. We'll see. Maybe one day. Heavy hitters. Yeah. Okay. It's Canada only. Interesting. Very interesting. So I'm guessing Sunny said it was 12 packs. I'm guessing it's like 6 Black Bolt, 6 White Flare. I imagine. Is there a promo in those as well? Do either of you guys know that? That is interesting though. When should I sell my PCTBs and Evolving Skies booster box? Well, I would say it depends on which PCTB. Like I'm contemplating selling. You can see the Fusion one behind me on the top shelf there. I might actually sell that. And I might even sell like my Brilliant Stars one. In terms of like S Viera, I think there are a lot with fairly weak promos that you could potentially sell too. PCTBs in general performed so well last year. But again, it comes back to the conversation. And I view it this way, and a lot of people don't, which is fine. Like if you disagree with me, do you? I worry about products where a lot of the value is tied to the demand and, kind of value attributed to the promo card, right? And that's kind of why these PCTBs did so well last year is because the promos were probably undervalued, right? And then everyone started buying them up. It was a trend. And will that continue? Will people value those Pokemon Center stamps in the future? If you believe they will, maybe it's worth holding on to them, right? But if you think that's kind of a fad, it's going to go away, maybe it's worth selling them. So I would say it depends on those. Evolving Skies, I'm not selling my Evolving Skies yet. I've contemplated selling some of my other Sword and Shield. Like I said, the Fusion PCTB, Brilliant Stars, in terms of booster boxes, Chilling, Astral, and then maybe a little bit of Brilliant or Silver. I might move this year, which is definitely not a popular opinion. But when I look at the numbers, right, and I'm thinking from an optimization perspective, it might be worth doing that. But something like Evolving, I think still has legs on it. Evolving and Fusion would be like the last two Sword and Shield era booster box sets that I would move. Those I'd try and hold on to those as long as possible. Prado's in here. What are your thoughts on Prismatic ETBs a year down the road? Loving the content as always. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm still very bullish on Prismatic, right? Like I'm not gonna say I was the most bullish last year, but I was buying when it was 80, $90. Like even in November, I had my guy reach out to me because Costco got more in Canada. Like I was picking up more at $80 USD or 85 USD, whatever it was. I think my buy cost now is up to, I want to say like 93 or 94. Maybe it's a little bit higher than that actually, but still very low. I think these are gonna be like $300 ETBs in the future, if not more, right? So, yeah, big fan. I'll leave it at that. I don't think we need to beat a dead horse anymore on Prismatic. Everybody knows it's a really strong set. A long-term OP13 or Prismatic. Wow. Blue Bear Huh. This is Blue Bear He, I guess. Huh would be like Chinese, but um I think you have to have exposure to both, honestly. Different markets, right? Like it's kind of difficult to compare both of these, but yeah, both really good sets. Tough choice. Really tough choice. Have a bit of both, honestly. Like they are both unreal sets. I don't think I can choose. Question WGATS Ainsworth. WGATS. I don't know what that means, man. Unfortunately. Maybe this is just troll. Is this let me look this up. Who gives a toss? What? Am I able to share this page? Yeah. Is this a thing? Who gives a toss? I don't know, man. Thank you for stopping by though, bro. I appreciate that. Let me oh, didn't mean to close that. Let's open the spreadsheet again for anyone who's missed it. They'll be able to look at these numbers again. Uh Ivy, thank you for stopping by. Hey, been a silent viewer for a long time on both channels. That's awesome, man. Thank you for supporting both of them. I just wanted to pass on this info that I live in a country in SEA, Southeast Asia, and lots of people from the West and Australia are trying to get their stock here. Yeah, it makes sense. I I purchased some One Piece off of my contact in Singapore. The 4 Asia boxes were so cheap for so long. Like my PRBO 1 case, I don't want to give you guys let me check the exact amount that I paid for it. Um actually I have a few more boxes so it's not going to be an exact number. But let's see. Where is it? PRBO 1. Yeah, like I probably paid around 500 Canadian, so like 400 US per box. Maybe 450 actually, in that range. 455. Yeah, I got those cheaper. Maybe it's closer to like 450, 460 USD for PRBL 1 for Asia. And I got that in a sealed case, ordered it in December. So that was like a crazy deal because I think PRBL 1 now 900 bucks still. I mean, maybe it's like 850. So huge arbitrage for people who have contacts that are willing to send to him. Like I'm so grateful for my guy in Singapore. Like he's helped me out a ton. He's helped out like other people in the mentorship program as well. So it's it makes sense too. Like why would you pay full market in North America if you can get something tracked to you for like 70-80%, right? So yeah, thank you for supporting the channels. And that is good info for anyone watching this, honestly. You know, if you can find the contacts, absolutely worth doing in my eyes. I also feel the same way about Dragon Ball, enjoyable experience as well. I don't even rip Pokemon anymore. Yeah, I haven't opened Dragon Ball. I probably should. I probably should open some. Like I've opened Union Arena. The I was actually really bearish on Union Arena just because I got one hit boxes and I opened some recently. I opened the rest of my Black Clover. So like next Cardboard Kingpin update, you guys actually won't see those on there because I opened them. But the value I got out of them this time, 2 hits in each box, and the super rares, there actually is like texture on the super rares, which is interesting. In One Piece, not really any crazy texture on the super rares. Like the borders are cool, I guess. I actually think like the SRs in Union Arena are better than the SRs in One Piece. And a lot of the top hits, the texture, you have signature autograph cards as well, and or serialized autograph cards too. So there are some really interesting pulls that you can get in that game. Dragon Ball looks the same way, right? There are some very interesting cards. Jay's in here. What's up, man? Good day, Grayson in chat. Yeah, good day to you as well. Thank you for making the stream. We've been going for almost 80 minutes at this point, which is crazy. It's four. Let me double check actually. I want to make sure that I don't have. Okay, we're good. We're good on time. Perfect, perfect. Sean or Oda's back in here. Opening One Piece is more enjoyable for me. I agree at this point. Like One Piece, it's unfortunate now that the boxes are getting up there in price, but very fun experience. Logic's in here. What's up, man? Thank you for stopping by the stream. Appreciate you. Ainsworth, question. Okay, yeah, I guess your thing probably just got cut off when you were typing. Question: what's your thoughts on selling some of your Pokemon collection, then buying raw cards and grading? I got a large mint collection of cards, but need the cash to cover. Then buying raw cards. Got a large mint collection of cards, but need the cash to cover the cards plus grade. What are your thoughts on selling some of your Pokemon collection, then buying raw cards and grading them? Okay, so um, you have a large mint collection of cards, but you need the cash to cover the grading, or you're saying like to buy more cards? So like what I would do is if any of your cards you think are going to get tens, just grade those initially to start if you think you're going to have a value play there. But yeah, like I think it's fine to sell your collection and to, do the singles game and try and grade them, or, buy sealed product, buy collections, whatever. Like there's a difference between actively investing in this hobby, running a business, doing the flipping, doing the grading plays, whatever, versus investing where you just buy the product and sit on it. So for me at this point, I would rather just be a passive investor in Pokemon and One Piece. And I think over the next decade, as long as I don't mess up royally, I think I'll be in a good spot. But if you want to try and, put more hours in and turn your money into more money, that's the way to go about it for sure. Is being more active. Not saying like the grading is the best way. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but being more involved and doing more with your hours, I think that's fine. So yeah, if that's what you want to do, for sure, go for it. But again, like I have no experience in the grading play and doing that sort of thing. So, if you're asking me advice on that, I'd have no idea where you should start. But if you just want me to tell you to sell your collection to use that money to make more money, I mean, if you have the time and that's kind of your objective, then that's probably the way to go. Is grading even still viable? Yeah, like this is something I couldn't answer, right? So I don't really pay too much attention to that, but that might be a question for chat or maybe someone else like Dan from Catch 'em All Collectibles. Um, this is from Nomad VMAX. Pokemon got me back into opening with 151 where the SR rate was 1 in 32. Now every set feels impossible. Yeah. Yeah, man, I feel you. It's definitely more difficult to pull those top hits now, but also like in terms of investing, I think that adds to the value of some of these sets. So there's definitely trade-off. Kyle's in here as well. What's up, man? Thank you for stopping by. Question. Ancillary products feel like such clutter to me. I end up breaking them down for the loose packs. Do you think the loose packs will do well over time? I'm a lot more bullish on loose packs now if you have a reputation and you're able to work with like a rip and ship to sell them. If you're just like a random person selling loose packs on Facebook, you have no reference page, no feedback, probably going to be more difficult. Like I'm not saying you won't be able to sell them, but if you can move a lot of these to rip and ships for, 80% or whatever, depending on the pack, like I think that's fine. Um, I don't think it's going to be the best investment play in terms of like raw ROI and compound annual growth rate and all that jazz. But it's something where, sure, breaking down ancillary products, I've done it before. So I don't think it's a terrible idea. I'll say too, like, I just hate having like 100 different SKUs. So I used to have all the tins, collection boxes, the collector's chests too, like everything. Such a pain. Definitely did not want to have to deal with any of that. And now the fact that I just have like mainly booster boxes, bundles, ETB is it's definitely a lot easier to deal with. By the way, guys, we're 85 minutes into the stream. If you guys enjoy the content, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like on the video. Also, a bunch of useful links in the description. I mean, you're seeing the market spreadsheet on screen. I'm showing you guys the last 2 weeks of data for the SVR and Mega Evolution boxes. But if you guys want access to the full sheet, link in the description. Same thing with like the console calls, the mentorship program, everything's there. If you're shopping eBay, TCG Player, Hobbiesville, Cardboard Hero as well. Affiliate links down below. Costs you nothing to click on the link, and I'll get a small percentage of the sale, so it helps out a ton. Thank you guys so much if you do decide to use those. Moving on, we'll take up the Eggman 7. What's up, man? Thank you for stopping by. Uh, I'm up to 26K because of you. Amazing. Up about 6,200 in unrealized gains. Really enjoyed the channel. Just started about 6 months ago. Very cool, man. I'm happy to hear that. That's super exciting. I wouldn't say it's because of me. Like, you've probably watched some of my videos, but you're the one who ultimately decided to invest in the product, right? So it's ultimately your win at the end of the day. But appreciate you being here. Means a lot. And he said something else too. Although OPO one white bottom is yeah, I mean, I'm curious to know when you bought it. That's the thing. I think white bottoms long term, you don't really have much to worry about. It's just the time. I look at my One Piece stuff, like I'm probably down 30K, I think, over the past month. Just from boxes dropping like 10-15%. It doesn't really worry me, honestly. So I'm still very bullish on One Piece long term. Fluent in Progress. That's an interesting name as well. Kind of like that. Are you picking up Ascended Heroes Pokemon Center ETBs at 200 bucks? I'm not buying the PC versions. I picked up a couple sealed cases of ETBs, and mainly just because I want to stack them to the ceiling. Honestly, like, I'm not even joking when I say that. I want to have very large exposure to Ascended. I probably should buy a couple of the PCTBs, honestly. But again, I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me coping. Like, I look at PCTBs right now. If I was getting them at MSRP, I'd feel good. 200. I mean, it's only what, 3x, 3.5x MSRP. Like, it's not terrible. Will they be 400 bucks in the future? Probably. You look where Prismatic is now. So yeah, I'm sticking with the sealed cases of ETBs, the regular ones at this point, but I don't think it's a bad play by any means. I think too, I don't know where you're located, but I was talking with Oscar and he's in Sweden, and I think they were like 150 bucks. And that was a week ago, maybe a week and a half at this point, but other parts of the world, the PCTBs were much cheaper. So yeah, if you're in like the UK or EU in general, you might be able to get some pretty solid prices there. Also, I use the charts where you shot total value set, um, BS booster box price, and when total value set outperforms set price, I start buying those fast as they go up in value. Interesting. Okay, very interesting. Yeah, I like looking at like top 10 value. It's something I've done for a very long period of time. It doesn't tell the full story. Obviously, like, you can look at Obsidian Flames, right? Something that has the lowest top 10 value. It's still 340 bucks a box, but it's something where it's quite obvious to tell like what are the winners, especially in a game like One Piece. The OP13s, the OP09s, the OP5s of the world, they're far ahead of everything else. Like, it's not even close. What up? Love the content. Steve's Collectibles. Thank you for stopping by, man. Appreciate it. How you doing? Is that a teddy bear, man, in your profile picture? I can't zoom in on this, but it actually almost looks like a teddy bear playing football with a cape on. Interesting. Off topic from Jay again. Have you considered investing in any other TCG Dragon? No, Dragon Ball's a no for now. Again, like, maybe in the future things change. I don't think that they're, like, to me, even One Piece, when I got in, it was kind of like borderline in terms of demand. Like, I didn't feel great about it. That's why I've always called it riskier than something like Pokemon. Like, Pokemon's a machine. If TCGs are around, Pokemon's going to be around. One Piece, I think there is growing demand. And even before the boom, there was growing demand. I look at Dragon Ball, it's just too small. It's same thing with like Union Arena. I mean, that's growing. There's just not a ton of product out there. So like maybe in the future those boxes are crazy, but in terms of like how many people are actively paying, 100, $200 for a box and then opening it, I just don't see the collector side in a lot of these games right now. So that's why I'm not touching them. Even something like Gundam or Riftbound. Riftbound, I'm probably the most curious about right now, honestly. So like outside of Pokemon and then One Piece, Ripbound. I'm not in it yet. I have one box of Origins. That's it. But that's uh that's the game I think I'm most interested in at this point that I'm not actively investing in. Um, Steve also had a comment. Thoughts on Hidden Fates ATBs long term? I think the SM210 promo will continue to do really well and bring the ETBs with it. Yeah, I like the promo. I like Hidden Fates. They're 400 and what, $30, 440 in ETB now. I'll show you guys the ETB data too. Fuck it. Let's go to, I did this on Saturday, I think, right? Or Friday. By the way, I'm going to start going through the process of flipping everything, but these are the most two recent updates for Hidden Fates. And let me go like this so you guys can see everything. Is this showing up? Perfect. Might be very small. Let me go like 110%. Maybe that's too big. The dollar absorption I really wouldn't worry about too much right now. Yeah, Hidden Fates were like 440 in ETB, selling at 2.8 per day. It's not bad. Like honestly, for Hidden Fates, really not that bad. Supply is dropping as well, and market price is going up, and supply is coming down. That's telling that Hidden Fates and a lot of the specialty sets like Celebrations, 294. I think it's actually over 300 today. So a lot of these sets, Hidden Fates, Celebrations, Crown Zenith, 151, they're all moving. Like all these really desirable specialty sets. So I think that it's a decent shout. I don't know if it's the best place to put your money. I think that maybe some of these newer um Sword and Shield or even Esviera or honestly even like the Mega, Ascended Heroes. Some of these newer specialty sets probably are going to be a better ROI over the next few years, but Hidden Fates is definitely a safe bet in my opinion, and you're probably going to see some solid growth on it. Okay, and so yeah, that's kind of what I figured, man. I was tweaking out there. The Justin's in here as well. What's up, man? Thoughts on the prismatic figure collections? I talked about this earlier. Someone asked me about this. Um, Not a product I'm buying. I would rather have ETBs. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Like to me, I think there's better products, but I don't hate them either. Like I think you'll do fine. But if you want a longer explanation, go back to probably like the 5 minute mark or something in the live. Thanks for your response on ETBs and evolving Sky's booster box advice. The PCTBs I'm sitting on are evolving DR 151 unloaded 1000. Yeah, I was just talking with someone last night about this. 151 would probably be like the last one I'd want to move just because it has a decent promo. It's 151 too. Um Destin, like I get it's a great set. Wobbuffet as the promo though. Um Even that, I think it might be too early to move. But yeah, evolving, like I'm not a huge fan of the Sword and Shield PCTBs, and maybe I need to do better data on those and look at the numbers closer. But you know, it has an extra pack in it, and the art's different, and that's where all the value's coming from. To me, it doesn't make the most sense in the world. So I wouldn't be shocked if those eventually start to fall off, but we'll see. We will see. Oh, you're in the UK. Awesome, man. Very, very cool. You're on the grind. What are you doing though? I'm curious. Need the cash to buy a large mint collection that I've been offered. Oof. Gotcha, man. Yeah, that's a tough choice to make for sure. You know, This is something like I couldn't answer, without knowing specifics, right? But this is also why I always like to have cash on the side. This is getting, past your question now, talking to the wider audience. Having money ready to deploy to me is incredibly important. And I've learned that the hard way before, even when I was doing things before the Pokemon hobby, like having money, being able to jump on opportunities, it's so crucial, so important. Steve as well. Have you seen the prices of special delivery Pikachu? I haven't. I remember buying all of mine from the Pokemon Center, $20. Crazy to see the raw and 10 prices now. What are they, Steve, by the way? We've been going for about 95 minutes here, guys. We'll go for a little bit longer, but then I think I am going to cut it off. So if you have questions, I'll try and get to all of them here. I'm still behind chat a little bit, but we should be able to hopefully catch up. Last question from Toronto Six God. If you're forced to buy a Destin Rivals booster box now, what is the price in Canadian you would pay for it? Well, I mean, if I was forced to buy it, but I could choose the price, then I would just say like $10, right? But um, being realistic, I have no clue in Canadian what stores are at. I genuinely don't. Um, I would feel really good buying Destined at probably like 300 to 350 USD. In that range, I think would be pretty good, honestly, just considering where everything else is at. And with every month that passes, it's like it becomes less likely in my eyes that we see Destined hit, 200, 250. MSRP, I think, is like out the window at this point, unless, popularity in Pokemon just completely collapses. They're secretly printing like millions of boxes, right? So with every passing month, and it was the same thing with Prismatic too, when I was buying a lot of that, to me, it was only a matter of time before things stopped. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, in that range, I'd feel comfortable. Some people would probably pay a lot more and feel comfortable, but that's my answer. Oscar's in here as well. What's up, Oscar? How much difference do you think the value will change between booster bundles and boxes? We talked about this a little bit earlier on in the stream. I think when you compare bundles to boxes or bundles to ETBs for specialty sets, I think the booster boxes slash ETBs will generally outperform the booster bundles. That said, there is a certain point where I think it makes sense to buy the bundles. So, for example, the Destin Rivals restock recently, like the booster boxes, 550, $600, where you could buy a bundle for $40 USD. So 240 essentially USD for the same amount of packs. I think when there's that difference in price, it probably makes sense to buy the bundles. I felt confident buying a case of Destin Rivals bundles. I'm happy to have some exposure now. And again, like, my plan, which I've said for months now, is just a DCA. Like if there's any sort of restock into good products, like I'm not gonna go out and buy sleeve blisters from Walmart or, build and battle kits or some shit like that. But if there are booster bundles or booster boxes, I will just buy right at that time. So yeah, I think there is a way to make bundles viable, but if the price per pack in each item is very similar, I think at that point you're better off just buying the booster boxes or the ETBs if we're talking about specialty sets then. Not like they're gonna restock PCTBs all the time. Yeah, I mean, this is something people bring up, and I think it's a reasonable point, right? But at the same time, like, is the value there in the one promo, the extra pack, and the fact that it's a PC exclusive to justify the difference in price? And if you believe it is, then buy PCTBs. Buy, this is the thing too. And, I'm not trying to call you out, Lee, but a lot of people that have this position and talk about, PCTBs in general, still to this day, I think a lot of those people have heavy bags and they got in early and they just don't want to sell, which is fine. I always tell people, like, show the receipts. If you genuinely believe in a lot of these top PCTBs, show proof that you're buying like 151 PCTBs at $1,000 or you're buying Prismatic at $400. And I'm not saying like it's the right or wrong decision, right? I just think that so many people talk about it, but no one's actually doing it, you know? So that's always been my gripe with kind of like this conversation and just conversations in general about comparing like two items. Like what I say on my stream I actively do in my investments. So like when I tell you that, I think Prismatic's good, I've been buying Prismatic, even more Prismatic. When I tell you that Black Bolt and White Flare ETBs, I think these are going to be, moving up in price soon. I just bought more Black Bolt. So I try and be consistent in the advice I give and what I'm actually buying, right? And the day that I say something and I'm doing the complete opposite, at that point, I hope everyone just stops watching me if that makes sense, or at least calls me out, right? Because maybe I'll do something that's really stupid and I'm not actually thinking about it. But that's my only gripe with the PCTB argument is if people are genuinely buying and they believe in it, respect, like 100% respect. But also think most people are just blowing smoke out of their ass. Wins is in here. Yo, Grayson, hope you good. I'm from the UK. Awesome, man. The UK is somewhere I haven't been, but I really want to go. I think Ireland. I know Ireland's not part of the UK, but like that part of the world, right? I really do want to visit one day. Do you have any big slabs? Just got first mangas, Sanji Bani, and Silvers. Okay, so Rayleigh. Good idea at these prices now. Do you think I intend to keep for long run? So I have one manga, which is the Trafalgar Law from Royal Blood. It was the first manga I ever pulled out of a box. I bought it off Hobbiesville for like $80 USD. Um, Crazy experience too. Super fun. I've opened three mangas. I actually pulled the Bonnie. I pulled the Zorro as well. And I sold both of those. So I only have the Law PSA 10. Like we sent it off for grading, came back. That's the only manga that I own and will probably own. There are a couple SPs I might pick up. I still don't think it's the best time to be buying. I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of these cards continue dropping over the next couple weeks. Some things are starting to bottom out. Some things like the serialized cards haven't even dropped at all. So, um, is it a good price to be buying right now? I mean, you said you just bought them, I think, right? Just got my first mangas. Yeah. So I think that implies you already purchased them. I think it's fine. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they go a bit lower. I will say, like, I'd rather just own sealed products, right? I like the fact that it's deflationary. All these mangas, there's going to be more of them in the future, and it's also relying on demand increasing. So, could demand increase? 100%. I would not be shocked if, 5 years from now, these mangas are double, triple what they are because more people come in and want them. I think that's a very reasonable outlook on a lot of these cards. But for me, I would just rather have the sealed product. Hopefully that answers your question. And thank you for watching from the UK. It's getting late there too. It's probably what, 1:30 in the morning? 12:30? When did you get back into the TCG? And what was your first sealed product you bought for investing purposes? So I got back in. I'd been watching Alex and a couple other creators in like mid 2023. So that's when I started buying like a lot of stuff heavy. I think the first purchase I made, I'm pretty sure was the Shining Fates ETBs. I think that was the first or the second thing I purchased. I kept those for a really long time as a reminder of like why did I do this? It was such a bad decision. And I bought them on the Pokemon Center too, by the way, which was like way above market at the time. So I made so many mistakes, and that's why too. Like, you know, I get bashed hard, man. Like if you go on Reddit or any of these places, or like you listen to cosplaying sociopaths on the internet, right? They'll bash me for offering consults. Man, like if I could go back 3 years and talk to like any of the top guys, I could pay for an hour of their time and learn, and not make the mistakes I made because I made so many mistakes that cost me probably like $10,000, honestly, at the time. Like I bought tins when I could have bought Evolving Skies booster boxes. I bought Shining Fates ETBs, like some very shit products and a lot of loose stuff, sleeve boosters, all the stuff that I would never buy now. Like it can pay, to cut down your learning curve from like a month or a week or whatever it is to an hour. Like if you can break down that time, make sure you don't make the mistakes. Like I've learned a ton from making mistakes. So, I mean, that's me kind of just shilling my own stuff there. But yeah, Shining Fates, ETBs, I think that was my first buy, or it was one of the first ones. I can't honestly remember exactly. But yeah, regret doing that. And since then, we've done a little bit better, I think. So it's been almost 3 years since I purchased my first items, and I started going like very heavy November, December 2023. Like I had stuff for most of 2023, but that kind of like couple months towards the end of the year there, I made a decision to just go all in on Sword and Shield. A lot of the booster boxes were still in stock on the Pokemon Center. I bought Chilling Rain on eBay from Imp- what's his name? KHSED. I think he owns Imperial. I'm going to butcher the name here. Imperial Sports Garden or something. I think they're in Grand Prairie. I bought like 4 cases of chilling off of him. And then basically all of my Brilliant, Fusion, Lost Origin, Astral, all of that came from the Pokemon Center. So that's really when I went heavy. But the first items were like middle of the year. Ivy again. I also appreciate the info that you put out. Thank you, man. I mean, that means a ton. It has helped me out so much. A question if I may ask. I'm a numbers guy. Long story short, even with the promo, why are ETBs way pricier than bundles per pack? I mean, I think a lot of it just comes down to the ETB and then like the sealed display value. I think that's kind of like the other large component. And maybe some people disagree, but like I don't see a lot of people displaying a booster bundle, right? Whereas with something like the ETB, you have a larger surface facing outwards. The art generally much better, in my opinion. So I think that's kind of like the other big factor there. I do like the bundle displays though. Those are interesting for sure. But yeah, I think those are kind of like the two big factors that play into like the ETB price. And then I mean you get like dice and stuff in it, but I think for most people they really don't care about that. So that's kind of like a small tertiary factor, I guess. Jollibee, as someone who's never dabbled in Pokemon, would Ascended Heroes be a good start to build a small portfolio? Yeah, I'd say so. The thing with Ascended, it's going to get printed heavy this year. So, and that's my guess. I could be wrong about that. I think it's probably going to get the prismatic treatment. If you're in the States and you can get ETBs on Target or through Walmart or Costco, it's MSRP, you're paying $60 an ETB, market's 120. That would be a great way to build a very small portfolio that's safe. And then even if they get printed into oblivion, I doubt we ever see those get to like $60 market price. I really don't. Again, like if the market falls out, people lose interest in Pokemon simultaneously printing a ton, sure, maybe then, but that would be how I'd approach Ascended. Try and find some at your Walmarts, Targets, Costco's, Sam's Clubs, whatever, because there will be restocks this year, and I think you'll have opportunity. Steve's back in here. It's a MetaZoo Bigfoot. Okay, interesting. I'm one of the 5 people speculating on MetaZoo. High risk, high reward. Yeah, man. You know what? Respect for at least acknowledging it's high risk. 100%. Definitely not a game that I'm going to invest in. But I wish you all the best. I hope it works out. I know that I think Dan's involved in MetaZoo, right? But I know there are some people who believe in it for sure. Sean's back in here. Sorry, had to look after the kids. No worries, dude. You can't apologize for that. Family comes first always. We had 10K plus heavy hitters at Costco on the weekend in Ontario. Wow. Then we had a drop today online Costco and still in stock 4 hours later. Crazy. Actually, I should. I don't want to tab out. Let me do this on my phone. Um, there's someone that I should notify about that. Let's see. Let me make a reminder to do that. Um, sorry, guys. Thank you for. This is very unprofessional. What I'm doing right now. Costco heavy hitters in stock. Perfect. All right. You guys are, helping me out a ton with these restocks, man. Maybe I should be paying Sean to be my notification uh bot here. IRL bot. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Uh 10K stock in Ontario. That doesn't seem like a ton though. I mean, how many stores are in Ontario? I'm curious to know what the online stock was too, if it's a lot higher than that. As someone who's never dabbled in Pokemon, okay, yeah, we took that one already. I like the Prismatic figure collection box. The promos are good, and Clover said the pull rates are good. Okay, I gotta stop you here, man. First of all, Astrology Factor, thank you for supporting the stream. And this isn't a shot at you at all. Not a shot at you at all. All of these people that say pull rates are good in a certain product, in my opinion, are full of shit because nobody actually has sufficient data. Like, show me a sample, a legit sample of like 10,000 packs out of a certain product. Compare that to what TCG Player puts out based on other products or what you've done with other products and prove that there's a difference in pull rates. And maybe it's a batching thing, like maybe that's real. Whenever I hear someone say that like a certain product has good pull rates, I immediately just think less of that person. And maybe that's just me. Like I don't think there's any evidence to support any of those claims. Could be wrong, open to be proven wrong, but that's that's something that just makes my eyes roll, man, honestly. No, I think just in terms of a product though, it's not terrible. Like you're not the first person in here today talking about those. I think they'll do fine. Me personally, I like the promo in the ETBs better. I really do like that EV. I think just in terms of display value, the ETB's higher display value. Um, I haven't run the numbers on like which one takes up more space per pack, but collection boxes are very bulky. So for me, it's not something that I want to have to deal with, especially shipping them in the future. So that's why I don't buy them. But again, like if you're buying them cheap, you can get them in person at Sam's Club or something. All the power to you. 100% all the power to you. Cloudfire's in here. What's up, man? GG's. Yep, GG's. We're almost done here. I mean, we'll keep going as long as there's comments and stuff and people, need help with things. Kind of want to do a Dan and just go until all the comments are answered. At the same time, need to start prioritizing my health and getting my steps in again. I've been slacking on that for like a week. Wins. I was meant to add slabs or sealed. I went for slabs, but for space. Okay, but I intend to get both. Yeah, for me, I'm always going to be a sealed investor. I like the fact that these items are deflationary. I look at rip and ships, opening packs. I mean, they're going to need supply, right? So for me, I like the idea of sealed products, but I understand why people invest in slabs as well, especially if it's a space constraint. It makes perfect sense. So I don't hate on it at all. Best modern PSA 10s to buy, in your opinion? I don't know, man. Riaizu, I'm probably not the person to ask, honestly. Probably not the person to ask. I would say though that I think some of these like surging SIRs, some of these prismatic SIRs, I'm just thinking of sets that have been hit like very hard, maybe even Twilight too. A lot of these top hits are probably going to start to rebound this year a little bit. I think we've already started to see it over the past like 28 days. They're not going crazy, but they're up maybe I don't know, 5 to 8% in that range, some of those. So I'd be paying attention to them, but I'm not the person to ask to try and pick like the top chase ever. That's not going to be me. So I don't want to just spitball ideas and make you go all in on something that I don't even believe in or invest in myself. Kyle, OP13 or Destin. I feel like I answered this already. I'm not sure if it was you that asked it or someone else. I mean, which one's higher? I have no clue. I think they're both great. I would say like in terms of like raw set value and which one's deeper, OP13 is a deeper set, but you know, the demand for Destined has been unmatched in terms of booster boxes in this range. So it's close in my opinion. Chuck's in here too. What's up, Chuck? How's it going, man? We're gonna have to do a live sometime too, Chuck. You were you were the first person to have me on as a live. I think it's time I return the favor and you come on the channel. Mike F, 2 questions. First one, is it a good buy for Ascended Heroes PCTBs while you can find them for around 200 bucks on Facebook Marketplace? Second question, with Destin booster boxes at 500 plus, should I invest in sleep packs? So, I'll answer the Destin one first. I would rather buy the bundles. I'm not a fan of sleep packs. They can be weighed, they can be tampered with, all of that. It's just, it's not something and by the way, too, selling loose pack or sleep packs, it's easier now if you have connections to a rip and ship, which I understand, but I hate storing sleep packs. I hate just trying to sell them in general. I would rather have bundles. So that's me. That's my bias. Outside of that, Ascended Heroes BCTBs, I don't think they're going to get much cheaper, right? Like this is the time where everybody's getting their shipments from Pokemon. So the people who want to move them, they're moving them right now. So yeah, if you're asking me if I think the price is going to drop and if they're going to get cheaper, unless we get a reprint in the future or restock, it probably won't be much cheaper than this, honestly. Steve also asked, see, okay, the special delivery Pikachu is around 550 and PSA 10 last sold 3,400 Canadian. Wow. I have a bunch of them sealed. That is insane. And those were promos from the Pokemon Center? Unbelievable. DJ says market's on fire. Market is on fire, man. You know, like throw money at anything and you'll be doing good. Up to 12 Ascended Heroes PCTBs aiming for 50. Wow. Big spender there. Okay. I see you. Respect. The only reason I still pick them up is when they're off of Pokemon Center. The PCTBs. Okay. Is when they're off of Pokemon Center. Interesting. The only reason I still pick them up, this is me just not reading properly. It has to be. The only reason I still pick them up is when they're off. So you're saying like after they've sold out, that's the only reason you're still buying them? Interesting. Okay. Hey, I know this is your Poke channel, but what are your thoughts on Riftbound? Talked about in our Telegram groups, but was wondering your thoughts on. Yeah, so I'm not invested in Riftbound yet, but it's a game I'm curious about. I've talked to people smarter than me, who work in that space, and you know my knowledge is evolving on Riftbound. I'll say that, but it's not something I've invested in yet. So I'm not gonna shill it on the channel and say go all in, but it's something I'm paying attention to. Pokebonks, what up, y'all? Thank you for stopping by, man. Appreciate it. By the way, guys, if you're new here, you just jumped in, leave a like on the live stream, helps out a ton. After that, Evan, what's up, man? Where should we put 1K in the current market? I know it's not a lot, but many of us don't have a lot to spend at one time. Yeah, I get it. I hate giving recommendations. Like I can only tell you where I would put $1,000. I just put basically $1,100 into Black Bolt ETBs. I bought a sealed case. So that's my most recent investment. Before that, I bought Ascended Heroes sealed cases. But again, if I only had $1,000, would I spend it on an Ascended Hero sealed case? Probably not. Right. Yeah, that's kind of why, like, I hate giving my takes too, because I know if you only have $1,000, like it's probably not the best idea to buy a sealed case of Black Bolt ETBs or Ascended ETBs. Like I'm going into Ascended assuming that I'm going to have to DCA over the next year. And if I don't have to and those keep running, like I'll be pleasantly surprised. But um yeah, you have lots of options too, right? Like I think Prismatic is still a good shout. I think if you're in the States, um, Sam's Club, if those SPCs do drop this year, $70 a piece, those could be good buys for sure. Target, you had Ascended Heroes ETBs drop. Like there are ways to make that money go a lot further than, you know, just buying a sealed case right now. But it also involves putting in more time, tracking the drops, maybe going to some stores in person. So I think it depends on where you live, how much time you have, but I am very bullish on pretty much all of Pokemon right now. So it's very difficult to go wrong. The mistakes are what shape you, though, but I 100% agree. Congrats on the insane 3 years. Thank you, man. Yeah, I agree. Like, you know, you have to make I mean, I make mistakes all the time. Like, I just made a video yesterday, and I put a fake Rayquaza Gold Star auction in the video. And I'll say too, like, someone said do more research before you put the videos out. Me doing like the end of week market updates now and including vintage, that is my research. So it's something I never covered this year. I've told myself I need to make an active effort to just learn a little bit. And I don't have a ton of time, but for me, just having some coverage of it and exposure to it and seeing the prices on a weekly basis, that's kind of my learning. But yeah, like 100%, you have to make mistakes to evolve. But at the same time, for a lot of people, if they have the money, and I'm at a point now in my life where I have the money too. So I actively do this in like other areas in my life. If you can cut down your learning curve from like 3 months to an hour just by paying someone kind of a small amount of money to teach you what they know, like data and information, everything you need is out there, right? So it's never been about selling something proprietary. It's always been about just decreasing the amount of time that someone needs to spend in order to get to a certain level. So for me, that's why consulting, it's been super successful, because a lot of the people I've worked with, that's all they're trying to do, right, is save their time. And obviously it can go deeper than that, and there are some applications and things that people can learn, but most of it just comes down to time, right? So yeah, that's all I'll say. But if you wanna go out on your own and make the mistakes and waste a lot of time, by all means do it. But I try, even though I try and grow and evolve, I'm trying to avoid making mistakes as much as possible now, right? Like I'm not just actively making mistakes for the sake of learning from them. So yeah, hopefully this is getting way too long. Honestly, we've been going over 2 hours, so I think I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, but hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Broski polls or polks. If you had a booster box cosmic, what would you do with it? Considering selling mine to buy more modern. Yeah, I think holding it's a safe bet, but I don't know from an optimization perspective if it's going to be the best place to put your money. I think just in general, yeah, people disagree with me about this though. Like I had a guy, I think yesterday or the day before, say that he's investing XY still or black and white, and he said like from era to era, the older stuff was still growing the most, which I didn't actually run those numbers yet, but I do actually need to, because I don't necessarily agree with that. Obviously, like X, Y, and Sun and Moon had great years in 2025. I doubt that continues. Liquidity drops when boxes get to a certain level. And I think just in terms of growth, they're going to start slowing down too. So, boxes at 4K, is Cosmic going to get to 8K before like Black Bolt ETBs get to 180? When you start doing that kind of A versus B comparison, and you just use Cosmic as A and swap out whatever you have in B, right? Like you could do that test, and if more often than not you're coming to the conclusion that Cosmic's probably not going to do as well, then maybe it's worth moving off of, right? So I don't know. That's kind of how I look at like a lot of my investments at this point, but I don't think it's a bad place to store money either. Even if you don't do as well, it's a Sun and Moon era booster box from a very strong set. I think you'll be all right. Um, hopefully that makes sense as well. Jolly says, "Oh crap, it seems like I'm question." Yeah, no worries, man. All good. As the late Charlie Munger said, it's good to learn from your mistakes. It's better to learn from other people. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And again, thank you for the education. Thank you for being here, man. Appreciate it. Very, very good quote. Still in stock in Canada. Wow. Crazy. Yeah, I sent a message to someone who might be interested. So let me double check. Hopefully they got it. We'll see. We're almost caught up on chat. This is crazy. Mike's in here. If you were to buy one booster box under $500 right now, what would you buy? Dude, I can't remember the last time I bought a booster box. I've been buying, at least in Pokemon, been buying some One Piece stuff this year, like in January, late December, but Pokemon booster boxes haven't bought a ton lately. Under $500. Maybe like 2 Surging booster boxes. Maybe. Like 2 Surging or 1 Paldea. What do I think is better? Probably 2 Surging, honestly. I think that might be cheating a little bit because I think market price. I mean, TCG players 258. Yeah. Yeah, 2. I think you could probably find 2 of those for $500. Seems reasonable. Assuming we're talking about Pokemon here. We're talking about One Piece. I don't know, but that would be the Pokemon answer. Kyle says I ripped 8 sleeves of Destin Rivals at release and pulled 2 SIRs. I'd be an idiot to think that means sleep. Yeah, exactly. Like it's so stupid, you know. But the interesting thing is like a lot of people don't think that way. You know, they don't. And you know, I've messed up stats before on the channel as well. So I'm not saying I'm an expert, right? But it's like what I'm not gonna get into it. I agree with you, man. Like a lot of people just and the thing too is a lot of people who say that, I feel like they all own stores or have product and they're just trying to move product to people. You know, that's one thing. Like I love Pokey Dean, but I've heard him in his like shop POVs before say, you know, when someone brings like a tin up or a collection box, it goes, yeah, like the pull rates are pretty good. I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like, you know, do people really buy that shit? And I love Dean, by the way, but it's, you know, some people just say that. And maybe it'll come out one day that there actually is better pull rates, but I've yet to see any legitimate data on any of that. And that's why I always roll my eyes when people say that. Uh Clyers and Clears. I'm gonna butcher your name, sorry. Question. If you had one case of Lost Origin sleeved booster packs, would you sell it right now and put that money elsewhere? I don't know, man. I think it's funny. We had one of those show up in the weekend auction yesterday, and it sold for, I believe, $2,075, almost $2,100. So what is the math on that? So I believe it's 144, right? It's like 1460 a pack. Wow. Um, kind of seems cheap, honestly, because the booster boxes are like what 730. So that's trying to do math here. I mean, 4, 360, 120, 480, 500. So like 70-ish percent. Like it's maybe a little bit on the low end. So like maybe short term, those should be closer to like 16, 17. I don't know though. Like I I think just in general, if you look at the numbers and crunch the numbers, booster boxes are probably still outperforming, but it's Sword and Shield era. It's a strong set. So if you think there's a better place to put your money, go ahead. But again, like off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything. Um, you know, for me, it would be something where like I would probably just want to sell it because I hate having sleep packs and I would rather just own booster boxes and ETBs. But for someone like you, like if you don't mind it and you think that it's a solid place to store your money, then keep it, right? So that's my really long-winded way of saying I can't answer it for you. But very cool item. Very, very cool item. I remember buying this was in 2023 as well, or maybe early 2024. I remember buying a lot of Lost Origin mini tins, like it was the Galar Power ones, I think Lost Origin and Astral. Dude, those were like $5 Canadian, I think, like 250 a pack. It was so cheap. I just the quick ball tins too on Pokemon Center, Evolving Skies, Fusion, and then what was it? Brilliant, maybe? Like so many of these Sword and Shield Air packs you're getting for like $3 a piece USD. 3 USD, 250 USD, so much cheap stuff. I'm sure you've done well on them if you bought them a while ago. You're down? Awesome, man. Yeah, I'll reach out to you on Discord or something. We'll set something up here. Probably next week, but or the week after, whenever you have time. I'm fairly flexible and yeah, whatever day, man, we'll rip it. Be fun. Listing EBO3 One Piece on TCG and every card LP is at least 50% near mint. Is the painting is this painting the tape or is there a legit reason? Painting the tape. I've never heard that expression before. Um, dude, I don't know. I really haven't paid attention to like LP versus near mint pricing, especially on a new set too. I wouldn't read too deep into that. I think just in general too. Um, and this isn't really directed at your point. I think One Piece in general, as Bandai starts to print more. Oh, he actually gave an update here. Let me read this. 50% higher. Oh, dude, I mean, if LP is going for more than near mint, every LP is at least 50% higher than near mint. Yeah, if it's more than near mint, like that's insane. I wouldn't be reading into that. Like there's some very weird shit that happens on TCG Player, especially in the One Piece market. So I wouldn't read into it. I was just gonna say though, and this is not to your point or anything or your question. I think as we get deeper into One Piece and as Bandai prints more product, we're probably going to see a wider gap between like near mint pricing and PSA 10s because I think gem rates will come down over time. That's my guess. We'll see what happens, but I did just want to throw that in here. It was something I had on my mind. It'll be a very interesting year in One Piece, I think. Very and honestly, like all Bandai games. If there's increased demand for Dragon Ball as well and One Piece, and then maybe at that point, my guess would be if Bandai or if Dragon Ball performs well, I think at that point, you might even have more people going to like Union Arena, Digimon even, like who knows how far down the line people are willing to go, but if all their games start doing well, they're they're going to be in a very interesting spot and I don't know how well they're going to navigate it. I think with One Piece they'll do a great job. Like I've said multiple times, they they should know, like, if anyone working there has an IQ above 50, they should know they're sitting on a gold mine. As long as they don't royally mess it up, they're gonna make tons of money. But, for some of these other games, I mean, Union Arena, I think in general, the amount of sets they're pumping out, it's not a good look in my opinion, but could be wrong about that. We'll see. Patrick's in here. Opinion on the idea PCTBs will run but underperform regular ETBs until the PC promos run. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Like so much of the value in the sealed item is tied to the PC promos, right? So like if those are running and everyone's talking about PC, Pokemon Center stamped cards again, they'll probably do very well. And that's what happened in 2025. But can that continue? Like will the demand for those cards be able to double again or triple again in the future? Like maybe, right? So that's why I'm kind of hedging against that and why I don't like products where, especially at like a massive multiple of MSRP. Like if you're buying, if you bought a 151 PCTB at MSRP or $100 or whatever it was, like who cares? But if you're buying now at $1,000, it's a much more difficult conversation to have, in my opinion. If you had Cosmic, what would you do with it considering selling mine? Yeah, we touched on that already. I think it's a tough spot to be in. I do think probably some more modern stuff will probably outperform it, but it's a safe bet owning Cosmic. Really strong set too from Sun and Moon era. It's almost unanimous that everyone seems to hate Perfect Order. If I could get a case for around $1,000, do you think that's a good buy? I mean, who knows, man? It's tough to tell. Like I think that's cheap. Like you'd be 166 approximately a box. Like that's not it's not bad. That's just a little bit above MSRP. I think in a year's time, if it was still in that range, you could probably move off it anyways, right? Like it's not like I don't think there's a ton of downside at that level. So yeah, like you've limited your downsides obviously long term, like everything in Pokemon Go. Like just look at Steam Siege, look at Crimson Invasion, Guardians Rising, Battle Styles even is now like almost 2x MSRP. So like I don't hate it, but at the same time, my guess would be there will be better places to put your money this year, especially too, outside of Ascended, Prismatic, Black Bolt, White Flare, we're gonna have probably a Rayquaza set coming. So unless it's just Rayquaza and there's like no other popular Pokemon, that's probably gonna be a pretty in demand set too. So yeah, I think it could potentially end up just being squeezed. It could be like a journey, right? You have Prismatic on one side, you have Destin on the other. Journey really underperformed. It's not done well. The conversation about only having uh or having at least some exposure to the box topper versus the non-box topper, I think that's still it's still kind of a legitimate conversation. And to have a little bit of exposure to both of those, I think is fine. But just in terms of a set, Journey really hasn't done that well compared to basically anything else that came out in 2025. So just food for thought. Food for thought. I like the vintage sealed more because I feel like stock is so much. Yeah, of course. Like, um, definitely a lot less vintage out there for sure, 100%. So if you're buying it for that reason and just to be in those products, I think that's fine, 100%. I haven't bought a ton because worried about reprints or not sure what set this is in relation to. I'm not sure what set you're talking about here. If you clarify, I can answer, but we will move on. We're getting close to being caught up again. Spectobius, what's up, man? Hey, is it possible to get product price values in Google Sheets to update automatically? Um, I probably could figure out a way, maybe not automatically. Um, I'm not sure. I mean, I do the update once a week, and the reason for that is because I look at the eBay sales data once a week, at least for the Scarlet and Violet era right now. Sword and Shield as well. We do that on Wednesdays. Eventually, these will be dropped to like bi-weekly, then monthly, as things get older and there's less sales. But the reason why I don't think it really concerns me about figuring out a way to do it automatically is just because I do the update once a month or once a week rather, right? And the sales data that has to be scraped from eBay. There, I've yet to figure out a way to just get it to update automatically. eBay system is very difficult to work with, and that's kind of why like I'm the only person who has the eBay sales data, right? A lot of people when you look at their sheets or they talk about things on their videos, they're only looking at TCG player because no one else is putting in the hours to come up with these numbers. Thoughts on sealed booster bundle displays? Believe EU only product and is an under discussed product. So not EU only for some of the older stuff. It's like we got 151 displays here, Paldean Fades. Some of them, I think like Shrouded Fable was maybe only in the EU or like Singapore. Black Bolt White Flare, I'm not entirely sure on. I like booster bundle displays. Um, yeah, I think they're fine. Like I don't like the idea of paying a big premium to get the bundle display over loose bundles, but if the display, and I did this recently when I bought a 151 display from Hobbiesville, I was basically paying market for the loose boosters. I think it was like 112 USD at the time. I know 151's probably moved up a bit, but I messaged them and asked, like, if I buy 10, will you send me a sealed display? Like, will it come in a sealed display? Generally, a store like Hobbiesville, they're not buying a ton of product off of like people walking into their store and doing trades. So they have a ton of stuff from distro that would come in those sealed displays. That's why I asked. They said yes. They sent it to me. So even though I paid like 1120 USD, market on those is like 1700 bucks now. I think at the time it was maybe 1500. So I like the idea of trying to get bundle displays if you're getting them close to or equal to the price of the loose bundles. But if you're going to pay a massive premium, I'm not as large of a fan at that point because I think in the future it could potentially be difficult to get someone to pay you the premium on the bundle. Question: what's your top 5 Pokemon cards if you were to hypothetically buy singles, regardless of price? Dude, I really like a lot of the alt arts from Sword and Shield. The Lugia is really dope. The Lugia V from Silver Tempest. I like the Alakazam, of course, from 151. The Pikachu Secret Rare from Cosmic Eclipse. That was the first graded slab I ever bought. It's like him in red. I think it's a great card. Um, Outside of those, I like the Rayquaza VMAX from Evolving Skies. And a final one. Maybe like base set Charizard. Just because that was a card like I grew up with and stuff. So yeah, that would be my top 5, I think. But there are so many good artworks, so many beautiful cards, especially in the newer eras. Like, wow. Yeah. I will say too that Charizard SIR from Phantasmal, like that is a beautiful, beautiful artwork. 100%. Because I know for yeah, like OP, Buggy SP, Newgate SP, Cross Guild. I mean the Law manga, just because it was like the one I pulled. I really like a lot of the manga event rares too. Like any of them. Demon Warrior, Nine Sword Stylus, or Blades Drawn, Dead Man's Game. My Era Begins, Come On, We'll Fight You. Those are all beautiful cards. Thoughts on prismatic sealed product bundle displays. Like I kind of said, if you're getting them close to the price of the loose ones, great. But if you're paying like 1300 for a sealed display versus like 800 for 10 loose ones, to me, I wouldn't be paying that large of a premium. So yeah, that's my answer. Can One Piece steadily go up? I mean, One Piece was steadily going up before the boom. And that's something that I've always touched on, that a lot of people, when everyone was jumping in November, December, saying it was, a hype cycle. And a lot of people aren't wrong. Like a lot of people jumped in trying to make a buck. They've already left. People are freaking out, whatever. But before everything kind of took off, if you look at, market data from January 2025 to October 2025, things were going up, whether it was PRBO1, Romance Dawn, OPO9, the mangas, right? Even championship cards, everything was growing. You had interest in One Piece. So, yeah, I think it can continue steadily increase. And when you look at the footprint of One Piece as well, live action season 2, that's coming this year. Season 3, they haven't started promoting yet, but I know a couple things that are potentially happening in the future around season 3 and promoting it. So I think just in terms of, you know, the influence from the Western culture, right? It's going to continue growing, at least in my opinion. Anime in general in the US and Canada, it's becoming a more popularized thing. So I am bullish. I am very bullish on the TCG. I think it can keep going. Are we in for a potential new junk wax era? Is this in regards to like Pokemon or One Piece? In One Piece, I don't think they're going to print enough for us to be concerned about that. In Pokemon, this is why I invest in sealed product, right? Because I look at like the pops, 40, 50K. I mean, Van Gogh, Pikachu, that's even higher. So some of these cards I don't feel great investing in. That's why I stick to the sealed product. There is still massive demand from rip and ships for it. But yeah, I mean, some people think that things can keep growing, right? If Pokemon is building a new print facility and potentially they'll get up to printing 20, 30 billion cards in a year, like that could potentially happen. If they believe that's kind of how many cards you're going to have to print in the future, there's obviously going to be anticipated demand behind that, right? So I don't know. I'm probably not the best person to ask. I try and hedge against this by investing into sealed product that is being ripped consistently. When you think about the fees of selling, then the fees of buying something else, you have to believe the new product will outperform. Yeah, 100%, right? Like you do have to factor that in. I wouldn't necessarily agree that it's smarter or safer to hold. Um, because if you run the numbers and it makes sense, right, to sell that product and buy new ones, then it's not smarter. Um, in terms of safety, like the older stuff, you're safer from reprints and stuff. So I do actually agree with that. And it's definitely easier, right? Like you're taking on more work having to sell a product, find a buyer, buy the new product. But the thing too is like this is where building connections helps a ton. And in the States, if you have big items, just send them to consignment. Get your like 95% payout or whatever it's gonna be, and then if you're doing this on a large scale or if you're buying in Facebook groups, you probably shouldn't be paying tax anyways. You can hopefully buy stuff at a decent price too. But yeah, if you're listing something on eBay, they're taking like 15% in fees, whatever. You got to pay tax on that at the end of the year too. Then you're paying tax when you buy something. That's a massive difference in price. So I agree in some aspects, disagree in others if the numbers work out. Ivy says almost 100% on sealed. The few slabs that I have need two requirements. I believe prices will go up, and I love the art. One of them is the Charizard. Yeah, that Charizard's so dope, and I like the English version. Obviously, that's my bias, but the card in general, the artwork is amazing. Will bundles from specialty sets outperform ETBs? So the data I've looked at so far, the answer is no. ETBs generally have higher CAGR, but I mean, if you're getting them at a decent price, like when you look at 151 now, the ETBs being 450 versus the bundles being like $100 or whatever, 120. I think at this point the conversation probably morphs a little bit, and maybe the bundles end up doing better over the next few years. But generally, out the gate, price per pack being about the same, ETBs are going to do better. How old are you, Grayson? What's your occupation? I just turned 30 like 3 weeks ago, and I do this full time now. So YouTube is a component. I'd say ad revenue is probably like 30% of the business right now, between 25 and 30%. And then obviously doing the consults helps out a ton. And then the mentorship program as well, building that out. So full-time job at this point, and I'm grateful that I get to do it. Cloudfire says Pokemon sealed tier list is looking like a list of specialty sets. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like we've been getting insane specialty sets over the past couple of years. Just so lucky. Sorry, meant for Prismatic. What was this in relation to? Prismatic sealed booster bundle displays, EU only product. I think you said that in your first comment, right? Unless this was in regards to something else, or maybe you wrote shrouded. Yeah, either way, like I think the gap between the loose bundles and the display, I'd rather just buy the loose bundles. Buying the display at like 1300, it's pricey in my eyes. So for me, I look at it more as like a price per pack play. And then maybe if there's a little bit of a sealed premium there, terrific. But paying that huge premium to get that bundle display, even though it's rare, there aren't as many in North America. It's just such a wide gap in my eyes. We're almost caught up here. This is amazing. Thoughts on using basic technical analysis on Pokemon price graphs? I found they have a much higher hit rate than a lot of liquid markets. Yeah, I'm not like a huge, analysis guy. Um, I've tried to educate myself and learn more about that markets, and I know people who kind of um use those, technical terms and jargon, and they look at trends and stuff. And I don't know if it is the most accurate way of looking at Pokemon, right? But people are definitely trying things out and seeing what sticks. I've worked with a lot of people this year where they believe, myself included, that uh when you look at Pokemon, it's definitely an unsolved market for sure, in terms of optimizing. And I think there will be better data in the future that tells us when to buy products, which products to actually buy, um, how much, let's say, a reprint affects prices. Like there are so many things that if you ask people right now questions about their investments, most people wouldn't have the answers for you. myself included too. Like there's so much data to be analyzed that I think we do need to start approaching this hobby a bit differently. If we are trying to optimize and learn, right? So, what people are doing now, buying a little bit of each set, waiting, price go up over time, great. But if you're trying to take it to the next level, I don't think there's any harm in trying to apply, technical analysis to Pokemon. Not saying it's going to work, but there's no harm in trying, I would say. Do you consider booster bundles outweighing booster boxes long term? No, so I think in terms of CAGR, out the gate, prices are about the same in terms of price per pack. Boxes are probably going to do better. When you get to a certain point, we talked about this multiple times already, this live, like the Destin Rivals boxes at 550 versus the bundles at $40. At that point, the bundles might start outperforming, right? If you had to choose buying 6 bundles for 240 versus one box for 550, at that point. So um there's nuance to that conversation. I understand. Thank you. Also love the eBay data, but I'm looking to find a way to also track my single card values. Yeah, if you have single cards, I mean, just throw them into an app like Shiny or Collector. So there are apps out there that already track that stuff, and that's why I don't really do it. Right? For me, I'm more concerned about the sales data and having a historic record because nobody really tracks the eBay sales data, which is insane to me because when you look at a lot of these boxes, sure, TCG player, newer stuff, tons of it moves on that platform. But as things get older, a lot of that moves to eBay and other platforms. And at the same time, even the newer stuff, if it's selling on TCG player, a ton of it's still moving through eBay and it doesn't always tell the story. So, for example, a week ago when I talked about 151 PCTBs, they're selling, I think, like point 0.5 per day on TCG Player over the past month or so. Whereas on eBay, I can actually show you guys. Let me go to the PC update, scroll down to the most recent one here. You can see the last update I did, 151 PCTBs were moving at 2.11 per day. And that is, again, buy it now. That's not auctions at all. And maybe in the future I should include auctions. My reasoning starting out was that I wanted to see sales that were around market price, so auctions if they're ending lower. But maybe in the future, I'll eventually change everything over. There are some updates I do, like the XY era, Sun and Moon era, where there aren't a ton of buy it now sales. Those include auctions as well. That's why we use like the average sale price and we actually go through all of them. But for the boxes, you can see huge difference, zero point 0.5 versus 2. That's why I think looking at eBay data is important. But in terms of singles, Collector, Shiny, there might even be other apps out there. Use those. They're free to use. Like again, I think Shiny is a fine app, Collector as well. Like they're gonna do the job. So just download one of those and it's free. So why not? Pack Hype Collective, what set that's going out of Princeton would you suggest scooping up minus the no-brainers? I mean, going out of print soon. Well, what are the no-brainers, right? Like 151, Paldean Fates, Paldea Evolved. I think those are probably the no-brainers. Those are really the only ones I recommend picking up. I don't know. Like, I'm not a fan at this point. I'm not a fan of base. Like base when it was $80, sure, great buy. It still didn't even perform the best, right? It was same thing with Obsidian at $80, sure, great buy, but it was still outperformed by Paldea. I think just go with the best, right? Like it's kind of obvious from the block rotating out right now. 151, Paldean Fates, and Paldea Evolved, like those are outperforming everything. So in terms of your investments long term, that's where I'd want to be. I think too, it's important to factor in. It really is important to factor in the rip and ship element and how many packs are actually being broken down. So 151, a lot of that's still being opened. Paldea Evolved, for some people, it's in the top 5, but I think less of it's being opened at this point as packs get more expensive. Things like Obsidian Flames, SV Base, and not a ton of that's being opened, right? So I think you need to factor that in. And I don't want to give any recommendations outside of those 3 because I'm not buying any Obsidian. I'm not buying any more SV Base. I have 2 boxes of SV Base, 0 of Obsidian Flames. Paradox, I think I have 8 boxes still, 6 boxes. even those I wouldn't be buying more of right now. So hopefully that answers your question. Had to plug in the full DMG name. Saying that name is, but yeah, I mean, I've gotten good at saying that. It's kind of insane. Practice makes perfect, I guess. Alex is in here too. What's up, man? Gold Roger, PSA 10 went for gold 10. Gold 10. Alex, is that like a CGC? Or you meant to say like PSA 10 here? I'm assuming you meant to say PSA 10. Went for 19.5K cash, supposedly. He had lots of trouble moving it. Doesn't surprise me, man. Like you're really, and for anyone who doesn't know Alex Kong, Alex owns, I don't want to butcher, is it 15 now, Alex? Is it more than that of the Black Label Gold Rogers? So yeah, like you're one of the only guys like actively buying these high-end slabs, you know? And I have people in my group too, in the mentorship group that are buying some of these. So like I know money is still sloshing around and people are looking for deals, but people got way too comfortable charging way too much money for some of these cards. Um, and for some of these people too, like that could have been life changing money. Now they're stuck on it, right? And they might have to wait an entire cycle, essentially, market cycle, before they're going to be able to offload it for the same price again. So greed definitely got the better of some people during this market move. Should we be considering it almost blue chip? Is this in regards to booster bundles? I'm trying to look for almost. Are you talking about booster bundles in terms of like a blue chip investment or product? I think bundles are great if that's what you're referring to. If you're referring to something else, I'm caught up on stream, so you can let me know. We're gonna end this in a couple minutes. We're basically there. I'm just seeing if there's anything else. Maserati says, "Bro, Pokemon investing is great, but trying to move everything is a whole different game." Yeah, for sure. Like you need to have connections. I would say like if you guys are in the States, use consignment. Like that's probably one of the best ways to go about it. I mean, if you don't want to do that, you want to take like 80%, reach out to, Dan or some of these guys that just buy a ton of product. Like that's the way to go too. But that's something that a lot of people don't realize is it does take time to move stuff. You can't just click a button. So very important. Lowball City. Yeah, I mean, if you're dealing with like Facebook buyers and sellers all the time, like an absolute pain to have to do that. And that's why like just send stuff to consignment, I think, honestly, you know, or open your own store. Sell it that way. That works too. Once you build connections, things get easier. But yeah, I definitely don't miss the days of constantly. I mean, I still sell stuff on Facebook. So it's not like I'm not ever dealing with people like that, but I generally just try and list a price, and then if someone's not interested, like I'm not even gonna respond to them. Thoughts on Multra CPC? I think it's fine. I'm not as excited about those. I think it's weird that they reprinted the same artwork and just threw a stamp on it. Not a big stamp guy in general, but decent packs, decent looking box. I'm sure it'll do okay. And yeah, we're basically caught up. But what's the max buy-in on EBO3? Strong sell-through rate, and seems like my LCS stock went out same day, even at 300. Yeah, so still demand at like 330. I talked about Cardboard Hero in Canada. They had some boxes at like 450 Canadian today. When you do the conversion, it's like 328, 329 in that range. I still don't feel great about buying at that level. I think about, is it going to be easier for EBO3 to get to like 640, 650, or for OP13 to get to 1,000, or for let's say OP12 to get to 400, or for Black Bolt ETBs to go from 90 to 180, right? So a lot of my conversations with myself right now, the answers keep coming up Pokemon at this point. And there may be a time down the road in a few months where more eyes are off One Piece, and I'm much more bullish on One Piece back then or in the future at that time. But right now I'm buying a lot of Pokemon. BGS, okay. That makes sense. Wow. Yeah, because I think PSAs at one point were like 25, 26K, maybe even more. So yeah, man, greed. Greed kills. And you'll be able Dude, you're probably just licking your lips, right? I know what you're buying. We talked about that, and we're gonna do a live at some point, so that'll be fun, but you must just be licking your chops, man, waiting for these deals to come in. It's gonna be really awkward for some sellers to have to approach you again when, they wanted just insane prices for their cards. Patrick Romero, what percentage of the total volume coming into this space is attributed to people in different spending brackets? How many have 1K to spend versus 10K versus 100K versus a million? Dude, there's no way. I mean, it's a great question, Patrick. There's no way to tell, I don't think. Um, I'll say that the majority of the people that I've worked with and the majority of the people actually I'll just leave it at this. Like the majority of the people I've worked with over the past year, they're going to be somewhere between like 50 and 100K, I'd say. Most of the people. I've worked with a couple people that are definitely into the seven figures as well. Most of the people though, I'd say like between 50 and 100K. But again, that's my skewed outlook because those are people that are actually like booking time and working with me and I'm helping them, curate what they're buying. So a lot of people come in, I think would be much lower on that, right? Have 1K or less. When I look at YouTube views, I think the average YouTube viewer would be much closer to 1K, right? Maybe even less. Like I said, 500 bucks, couple $100 here and there. So eh, I don't even know how you'd go about trying to figure that out in a way that like wasn't skewed data. Yeah, tough to tell. I would imagine most people though, like if I had to guess, gun to my head, had to guess, I would say 80% of people, at least 80% of people would be at 10K or below. I'm curious though. I'm curious. I might run a poll. I might run a poll on that. It's a really good question. Oh, One Piece for blue chip. Yeah. I don't know if I would even call One Piece blue chip. I mean, like maybe a couple of the sets, like OP 13, 9, 5. Like, dude, those are cracked sets for sure. But Pokemon is definitely like the king still. It's kind of undeniable. I feel a lot more comfortable about just where Pokemon is at a game right as a game right now, but One Piece, I'm still very bullish. Still very bullish. Keep up the good content. You're the only person I can watch on YouTube. I appreciate that, man. Everyone else just hurts my head. Yeah, I mean, look, I probably say some dumb shit too sometimes, but I appreciate you being here watching. It means a lot. And thank you for sticking by and watching most of the live. It's been almost 3 hours. Crazy. The amount of money someone is willing to spend at a time will determine the respective demand on products at any specific price. People spending 1K will buy loose sealed. I get what you're trying to say. Um, and I don't think you're wrong, right? Like people who have more money, they're definitely willing to, buy the cases, right? For sure. Like if you only have $1,000, buying a case of ETBs is probably not where you want to spend your money. So I agree. But again, like I don't know how you could take that information and then make any sort of accurate assumption about what percentage of people are in each category. But I don't disagree with what you say there. What's Dan's channel? Catch 'em all collectibles on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, I recommend everyone watch people who have been here a long time. So like watch Dan, watch SM Pratt. I mean, he doesn't really upload a ton now, but go watch his old videos. Rudy, obviously, like go back and watch his stuff from like 2016, even like 2020, right? Like the bathroom Pokemon stuff. It'll change your perspective for sure. Thanks for the kind, informative words. Yeah, Tobias, thank you for being here, man. Appreciate it. Take a couple more here quickly. Still see a lot of upside with Brilliant Stars question mark. Seems pretty slept on still. I'm less I think that Brilliant Stars still is a long way to go, but I'm starting to see why I'm starting to see an argument as to why I should move some of it too at the same time. But I do think those boxes will eventually be 1,000, 1,500 bucks. It's just kind of a question of time. And then RAR, we'll end on this. Finally caught a live. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, man. Appreciate you stopping by. Yeah, we've been going for 2 hours, 45 minutes. So um this will be the last comment I take. And thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Yeah, I will chill in Discord for a little bit. I got some work to do, but if anyone has questions, I don't want to take them right now on stream. But if you guys have any questions, I'm going to be in Discord for the next like 30 minutes, and then I'm going to go eat dinner. Got to exercise and stuff. So if there's anything you guys want to talk about, send me a message on Discord. I'll be able to get back to it fairly quickly. Outside of that, leave a like on the live stream, guys. Helps out a ton. And yeah, useful links in the description as well. Mentorship program, consults, affiliate links if you guys are shopping. Appreciate it a ton. Hope you guys all have a great week. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.